the
Hey everyone, Samia Khan here with your Fox 10 News Now update. Not sure why that just went to black. Normally you see the logo rotating over and over our...
we're more compelling than the logo, right?
No. That's great. I feel like it was News Now's subconscious forcing us to start a few minutes early. They knew I would see that and freak out and be like, oh my god, we need to go live to us now. I don't know. But anyways, guys, you guys might be curious as to why Andrew Hasman is joining me on the morning edition of News Now. Typically, Andrew only joins me in the morning if it's a really big deal.
Well, we got a big deal today.
You get a lot of big deals.
Well, this one, this one is there are stories that are shocking,
right?
Because of whatever things going on.
Sure.
And there are stories that really make a lot of people very angry.
And this
is one that makes people very angry because we're talking about theft of taxpayer dollars. So we did this story yesterday. We had this exclusive video of a guy who has been working for the state for 35 years. He was the head of procurement for Access. If you don't know what Access is the state's Medicaid program. So this is basically the health care and welfare program for the working poor and the poorest people in the state. So Access is always having issues with funding, and it's just I'm sure you've all heard about issues with healthcare all over the country.
Right.
So this is the Medicaid program for the state. It covers the poorest of the people in Arizona. So this guy was the head of procurement for Access for about a decade or so. He had worked for the state for 35 years, been with Access for 27 years, and as head of procurement, he's basically in charge of how they spend their money.
I see.
And so the original accusation was that he had stolen $1.5 million over a period of about 10 years. Now they're thinking that number is well over $1.5 million, possibly to the tune of almost $10 million over a span of a decade.
And how did he get away with this?
Okay, so yesterday when he was arrested at his home, he was fired on August 18th after some kind of information was developed that this was happening. The AG's office went into his office and raided his office, and they fired him from Access that day on August 18th. Now, fast forward a couple weeks later, they built their case. They raided his home last night.
Home right here?
They actually raided 4 homes. So there was one in North Phoenix, 2 others in Phoenix,
right here.
and I think that's the one in North Phoenix. That's not his house.
Oh, okay.
That's like Desert Hills area, which is near Anthem.
Oh, okay.
So they raided 4 properties: his home, I believe his partner's home, who helped him out in this alleged scheme, and the homes of his kids. So what prosecutors are alleging, and we're learning this today. Yesterday they didn't go into the details about why they did all this. They just kind of gave us the basic info. But all of it was said in court, and today we have the video. So apparently he was taking the money, this is what he's accused of, funneling it to his business partner, who is not a state employee, and then dispersing it to his family members. That's the allegations from the state.
Okay.
To the tune of millions of dollars. And we'll play the video for you in a second. If you want to, do you want to show the yesterday stuff first? So for a little bit of background, this is what the story we did yesterday when it happened, and now we can elaborate some more that we have today's information.
Right. So let's go ahead and watch yesterday's story.
Employee, a man working for us, is arrested at his home. Officers surprising the suspect. Really surprising him because he was arrested with no clothes on, taken into custody, and then given clothes while sitting in the back of a police SUV. The man's accused of embezzling more than $1 million while working for the state's Medicaid program. Andrew has been on this story. That's a lot of money, Andrew.
It sure is, Troy. He was a top official at Access, which is the state's Medicaid program. He was arrested this morning and brought here to the 4th Avenue jail. He's accused of defrauding the state out of $1.5 million over a period of about 10 years. 63-year-old Michael Veet worked for the state for 35 years. He was recently fired from his job as chief procurement officer for Access. According to the Attorney General's office, Access's own inspector general noticed some irregularities and turned his findings over to investigators.
There's bad people out there that do bad things. Sometimes they work for the government. Anytime those allegations are made to the Attorney General's office, we take immediate action.
Special agents with the AG's office served search warrants at 4 locations, 3 in Phoenix and 1 in Surprise, including Veet's North Phoenix home near 7th Street and Thunderbird. Investigators won't release details about how they believe he defrauded the state of $1.5 million, but they say it all began back in 2006.
Any amount is too much, and we have a responsibility as the Attorney General's office and in state government to keep these people and hold these people accountable.
In addition to the longtime state employee, investigators also arrested 67-year-old Michael Cameron. Cameron is not a state employee, but is believed to be involved in the alleged scheme. In a statement, Governor Doug Ducey said, "Let this be a wake-up call to any state employee who tries to cheat the system and exploit our taxpayers for personal gain. Not on our watch. Actions that violate the law or the public's trust in their government will not be tolerated." And while he spent 35 years with the state, he spent 27 of those 35 years working for Access. He was fired on August 18th after an initial investigation. But this investigation, according to the AG's office, is not over, and more arrests could be coming. Reporting live in downtown Phoenix, I'm Andrew Hasbun, Fox 10 News.
All right, so you got the background there.
Right.
Now, in the story I mentioned, they're not releasing details. Well, they don't release the details, but they got to tell the judge about the details.
And
that's public record.
You get that.
So now we have the details, which is why don't they just release them? Because we're going to get them anyway.
Right, you're going to look for them. So.
So we can kind of tell you how it all worked. And they'll explain this more in the video we're about to show you, but we'll kind of talk about it now. So Icon Office Solutions is this company that Access did business with. And my understanding is they're like, copy machine type stuff and, paying this Office Solutions place for their services.
Okay.
Lots of businesses do that. So they would write checks to this company, Icon Office Solutions. And as part of that process, apparently, they would write like a little bit extra to another company that was also called Icon Office Solutions. And the suspect would basically give the money to his business partner, the checks. And instead of giving all of the money to Icon Office Solutions, the legitimate company, they had another company that was doing business as Icon Office Solutions.
Which is what they own.
And so a portion of the money went to the legit Icon Office Solutions, and a portion of the money went to the illegal, the illegal operation, or the alleged
That's
illegal
sneaky.
operation. It's very sneaky.
Pretty clever, though.
So they, when they raided his office, they found a briefcase in the office which had a ledger and all this stuff about the money and where it was going. And so from there, they found this business partner and the bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. And so right now they're thinking $1.5 million is what they can say at this point that they know has been taken from Access.
How did they figure it out, though?
Somebody within Access noticed some irregularities and turned it over to the Inspector General's office for Access. The Inspector General looked into it some more and then turned it over to the AG's office.
I see. Snapple saying, let me get this straight. He stole taxpayers' money, and more taxpayers' money will now go to this. A restitution goes to whom?
Well, back to the state, back to the taxpayers, most likely. That'll be determined in time, but the victims are the taxpayers of Arizona. So likely, if there is restitution, it'll be paid back to the state. Because it is state money that is taken. It is taxpayer dollars. We're all not going to get a refund check from this one. Don't get excited.
To answer your question, this means nothing for us as individuals.
But here's the real surprise.
Yeah.
So $1.5 million is what they believe has been taken so far. That's what they can at least nail down right now.
Right.
But they cross-referencing the records with the legitimate Icon Office Solutions and what they claim that they've received from Access and what Access's records show that has been paid out. And there's a discrepancy there of about $10 million. So this is what they said in open court. So they're thinking that this potentially could be as much as $10 million over a period of 10 years.
And where did this money go?
So this money was put in that account and then distributed to the families of the Access employee and the business partner as well.
And did these family members know what allegedly shady dealings?
Well, see, now only two people so far. Only two
in?
people have been arrested. Michael Veit, who was the head of procurement for Access, and keep in mind he'd been working for the state for 35 years. 27 of those years were with Access, so he was a long-time employee. He was 63, I believe. And then Michael Cameron is the other suspect, and he is not a state employee. And he was the one that they're alleging basically deposited the checks and kind of ran the bank account.
Ran the fake icon.
Ran the fake business,
okay.
Yeah. So those are the only two that have been arrested so far, but they say this is not over and more arrests could be coming. You'll hear it in the video that we're about to play. But when they say in open court, when they raided the home of Michael Veit, the Access employee's son, they found $200,000 in cash and $17,000 in cash in his wife's purse.
Who carries that?
someone who is trying to flee the country, maybe, and that's what
You
they.
saying that all the family members?
Well, no,
were
I
trying
don't.
to
I don't
run?
know that. I don't know
But I'm
that.
saying,
But that
is
would
that
be
what
someone. I
people-
mean, that would be people who. I mean, that's not a normal
They
practice.
assume that those family members were trying to free.
No, I don't know that. I probably should. That.
No, I'm saying, but
Let
is
me-
that what's but in
Well, I'm going to
addition
read you right
to
off.
the suspects?
I'm going to read you right off the court paperwork here that they found evidence that he may have been trying to flee to Belize.
The
Off the
suspects?
suspects.
Not the suspects' family members.
Well, who knows?
We don't know.
Who knows? I don't know. But why would you have $200,000 in your house in cash and $17,000 in your purse? I
That's a lot.
You can use your imagination. I'm
Right,
just stating
and
the facts.
Your money goes a long way in third world countries, or not third world, but you know what I mean.
Well, the information was
Second
obtained.
world.
This is for Michael Veet. Information was obtained that he may have had plans to flee to Belize.
Oh, wow.
So they had a cash bond now for $1 million. They're not going to be getting out of jail anytime soon.
Wow.
yeah.
I mean,
It's pretty
unless they
unbelievable.
use stolen money to bail out.
Well, the money's been the account's basically been frozen. So,
Okay.
which would maybe explain why they had so much cash.
They had taken it out before.
Get the money before it gets frozen.
So they kind of knew this was coming.
Well, he'd been fired on the 18th, and it took about a week and a half to get all the paperwork and all the stuff for
And
a
he
search
knew
warrant.
why he was fired.
I can't
I'm
imagine he
assuming-
didn't know.
I'm assuming they didn't tell him I'm just wondering if they gave him the heads up. We have all the stuff about you. We're coming after you. Mm-hmm. But I would wonder if they would say all
he was
that.
he was fired for a reason. He probably knew what was going on. I mean, how could he not?
It's true. D just rocking OMG $10 million. Can you say crazy, man?
It's a lot of money.
Really? How did this guy think he would get away with taking $1.5 million? Apparently even more. Joni saying he's a flight risk. I'm shocked.
Clearly.
I'm amazed at how people come up with these schemes. Because we've seen random stories like this, embezzlement. I'm like,
Since when is there a law against carrying large sums of cash is another question. There is no law, but it certainly doesn't
it's
look like you're
suspicious.
just, be on your best behavior when you're under investigation and you got $200,000 in cash in your
Unless-
house and you've been accused of embezzling money from the state. So, no, it's not illegal to have large sums of money in your house, but it can certainly be suspicious.
Right, you might have large sums of money after a night in Vegas.
Even then,
But
like,
even
seriously.
not that much. Deposit that right away. All right.
And good luck depositing $200,000 in cash.
Yeah, how would you would
It doesn't
definitely
happen.
it would have raised some alarms.
People who have large sums of cash laying around their house usually there's usually a story behind the cash.
Typically an illegal element. To
I'm
that
not saying
story.
anything. I'm just saying there's usually a story.
Yeah,
You don't.
just-
Banks just don't dish out hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash
And
easily.
normal people don't just keep random cash around the house because that's just unsafe.
In fact, large sums of cash are usually they get flagged and stuff. Anyway, they had a lot of money in the house. Bottom line, which doesn't bode well for their
Story.
appearance.
Yeah. Happily, maybe not, but maybe. However, some people do not use credit like me. I pay cash for everything. You can deposit large sums.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I know, but it's not easy. And it usually you don't just walk in with a bag full of cash and say, "Here, I'm going to deposit $200,000 in cash."
Right.
That's called suspicious. People ask questions when that happens.
Rob, I carry $17,000 in my wallet on the light rail.
Good luck with that. Let me know.
Well, he started, he used an acronym for laughing, and I'm guessing he's not serious.
No,
I would not
he's not
encourage you.
serious.
I'm like, if you're carrying $17,000 in your wallet, I hope you're driving your car.
So the counts against them. I'll just read it off before
Sure.
I play the other video. 1 count of conspiracy, 5 counts of fraudulent schemes, 5 counts of taking the identity of another person. I'm assuming that's for the Office Solutions account. 5 counts of theft, 13 counts of money laundering, 13 counts of trafficking and stolen property. So they served search warrants at 4 locations, 4 homes, all throughout the valley, and found all this stuff. They're not detailing what exactly they found inside there, but I'll read just a little brief snippet from the court records. Among the items seized was a handwritten ledger which itemized several transactions documenting that money was benefiting Michael Veit, Michael Veit's adult sons, and a party referred to as MJC, which are the initials for Michael Cameron, who is the other guy involved. Attached to the handwritten ledger were canceled checks from the Doing Business as Icon Office Solutions bank account, which included checks written to Veit's sons and the sons' businesses. Search of Michael Veit's Access office also led to discovery of legitimate Icon invoices which had been tampered with. Specifically, it was observed that label tape had been affixed to the Icon invoice, which covered up the actual amount that Icon was billing Access. So there you have it. They also had email communications that included instructions from Veit to Cameron on how Veit wanted funds to be distributed. Access checks in the briefcase totaled $1.5 million. They expect this amount will increase as agents are able to obtain bank records associated with the bogus account.
I don't know how people think they just won't get caught for things. I mean, they got away with it for years, allegedly. I should not say that they did. They allegedly got away with it for years. Mm-hmm. But I'm always fascinated.
He's the head of procurement. And this is another question that I think needs to be answered here is where are the checks and balances? So you have one guy who basically was able to write all these checks without anybody noticing.
Without anyone else working there to...
Yeah, for almost 9.5 years. Like, how's that even possible that this could have gone on for so long?
Obviously,
and no one raising any, where's the checks and balances?
Unless
where's the auditing?
They just thought that's how much money was going
maybe
to the real Icon Solutions because that's how much is spent on printing and copies. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Or maybe people just weren't paying attention. Mm-hmm. That seems like a more logical answer. Let's see. Anything over 10 grand deposited in bank is questioned.
That's true.
Tony's saying. Happily, I don't put money in bank, so I keep my cash at home in a safe. Happily, don't tell people where you live.
Yeah.
Because that sounds very dangerous. Even if it's in a safe, that warrants a home invader.
Most banks are insured up to $250,000 by the FDIC, so your money is not going to disappear.
Right. Whereas if someone knows you keep a lot of money in your at your home, who's to say they're not going to invade your home and demand that you open it? And hold not to get extreme.
Shall we play the courtroom video?
Sure.
So this is their initial appearance after they were arrested yesterday. The two of them. They spent some time in jail being questioned, and this is them in court in the jail having their initial appearance talking about their bail. The people you're going to hear in the background talking are the prosecutors from the AG's office and from the county attorney's office, and they're the ones who kind of detail what all happened.
Right.
And this is the most new information. This is where you're going to hear about how it happened or how it allegedly happened, and about the money involved. So if we want to play it.
Yeah, this all took place yesterday.
This all took place late last night, around midnight last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a 24-hour
11 o'clock
system.
last night. Yeah. Midnight this morning.
Got it.
The same arguments with respect to both defendants?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So I'm not going to have them both come up here at the same time, but I'm not going to have you repeat everything twice.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume what you're saying is with respect to both Mr. Cameron and Mr. Veit.
Yes,
and if there's something separate about each of them, then you'll need to make that clear to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Veit, your full name, please?
Michael John Veit.
And a date of birth?
3/23/52.
All right, sir, you are here on new accusations. It is one count of conspiracy, a Class 2 felony. My requirement is generally that there be a conspiracy to do something, and so while I have a suspicion what it is, it's not listed, so there's no probable cause right now on the conspiracy charge. But as you've heard me say a couple of times in this court, that does not mean that that charge is dismissed. The prosecutor can always present additional information later with respect to the conspiracy to make it a more specific accusation. The remaining allegations are 5 counts of fraudulent schemes and artifices, each Class 2 felonies, 13 counts of money laundering in the first degree, each Class 2 felonies, 13 counts of trafficking in stolen property in the first degree, Class 2 felonies, 5 counts of aggravated taking the identity of others or another entity, Class 3 felonies, and 5 counts of theft by control of property. Those are Class 5 felonies. Based on the information that you gave to the pretrial services, I am appointing counsel for you. And does counsel wish to be heard on release conditions?
Yes, Your Honor. Mary McGarry on behalf of the state.
Steve Duplessis on behalf of the Attorney General's Office, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the state is asking for $1 million cash-only bond with respect to both Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron. The victim in this case, in one sense, is Access, a governmental entity. In a far more important sense, it's the most indigent members of the population who expect to get that fund to pay for necessary medical services. Mr. Veit, during the period in question, was the chief procurement officer of Access. Therefore, with his conduct, he violated a position of trust, and he did so over a period of 9 years. While the amounts alleged currently reflect only a small part of the crimes that were taking place over the 9 years, it was from evidence found in Mr. Veit's Access office that reflected he had been receiving money from Access to presumably pay for Icon, a legitimate business with whom Access did legitimate business. However, Mr. Cameron and Mr. Veit actually had a DBA, doing business as Icon account. Mr. Cameron was the signator on that account. From the small amount of evidence that only reflects about 36 months over the past 9 years, it reflects the Icon payment by Access, a handwritten ledger that appears to be in Mr. Veit's handwriting, and a series of, first of all, a payment to Mr. Cameron that seemed to be approximately 20% of each amount each time, and contained individual checks that were made out to benefit Michael Veit and his family. So both Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron were receiving the money that was designated for a very different purpose. The amount in his office reflected $1.6 million. However, today the state received information that while Access had paid one amount to the legitimate, or to what they believed to be Icon over 9 years, the legitimate Icon with whom they contracted and did services said that they had been paid 10.13 approximately million less than Access believed they had paid. So the state submits that that amount is going to be found, at least in large part, in this DBA account that was being signed on by Mr. Cameron, but that was benefiting Mr. Veit and his family to a large degree. The view of the victim, obviously, is that these two people are also a flight risk in addition to the severity of the crime. Considerable assets were found in the defendant's possession. Right now, a preliminary search, and this isn't including any bank accounts, it appears to be about 2.7 million. Additionally, considerable and unusual cash amounts were found in the possession of one of Mr. Veit's sons, who had $200,000 cash in his house and $17,000 in his wife's purse. There were additional amounts of cash, unusual, all of which suggest assets and expenditures that far outweigh any legitimate source of income that Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron had. We'd further ask that the court order the surrender of passports of both Mr. Veit and Mr. Cameron. At this point, we did not find the passport belonging to Mr. Cameron, but were given information by a bank that he'd withdrawn approximately $42,000 over the past week and expressed that he was planning a trip to Belize. So because of all of these circumstances and because of the immense betrayal of trust and wrongful conduct, we are asking for $1 million cash only and the surrender of passports. Additionally, if they should post bond, we would ask that they be released on an ankle monitor. Additionally, I should say that there were, in addition to the handwriting that appeared to be Mr. Veit's designating amounts that were to be paid out, which seemed to be the ones that had been tracked, all direct benefits to his family. and the check signed by what appears to be Mr. Cameron. There were also emails found on the work computer belonging to Mr. Veit that showed Mr. Veit directing Mr. Cameron directly what to do with the funds in the account that matched up with some of the specific checks and transactions that were found.
That's it, Your Honor.
I'm
that's
sorry,
it,
Your Honor.
We're going to
Nothing
ask
further.
Yes. Good.
All right. Court has considered the remarks of counsel. Court has considered the defendant's lack of criminal history. However, given the nature of the allegations, given the amounts of monies at least alleged at this early part of the investigation and days, the court does recognize that as the investigation continues, things may change one way or another, but the court can only make a decision based on the information that it has available to it at the time of this proceeding. So the court will impose a cash only appearance bond at $1 million. In addition, if that bond is posted and the defendant is released on bond, there will be pretrial services provision with electronic monitoring. Among the release conditions are not to return to the scene of the alleged crime, no contact with the alleged victims, witnesses, arresting officers, or co-defendants. You must provide a local address and surrender all passports after the next court date if released. Any other conditions listed?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Veit, again, I have appointed an attorney for you. Your next court date is scheduled for September the 9th at 8:30. Step to the right, sir, and sign your copies. Mr. Chandler, your full name, please,
Michael Joseph Cameron,
and your date of birth.
April 14th, 1948.
You are here.
I'm sorry, Judge. I wear hearing aids, and I
Turned off my microphone
Thank
when
you.
the state's attorney was speaking, and I forgot to turn it back on, so excuse me. All right, sir. You are here on new allegations as well. Again, one count of conspiracy, a Class 2 felony, but for the reasons I explained earlier, I'm not finding probable cause on that particular allegation at this time. But as I explained earlier, that does not mean that that count is dismissed. It just means based on the information available to me now, there was no probable cause on that. The remaining allegations, I do find probable cause. 5 counts of fraudulent schemes and artifices, each Class 2 felonies. 13 counts of money laundering in the first degree, each Class 2 felonies. 13 counts of trafficking in stolen property in the first degree, each Class 2 felonies. 5 counts of aggravated taking the identity of another person or entity, each Class 3 felonies. And 5 counts of theft by control of property, each Class 5 felonies. Based on the information that was provided to pretrial services and then to myself, the court does not find that you are indigent, so I will not be appointing counsel for you at this point. That's not a permanent
Excuse me,
decision. Go ahead.
if you don't mind. The amounts of money that I told the young man earlier, I will not be making any money because janitorial service is provided to the state, and the rental income that I receive is from the state. And so unless the state continues to pay for the services, I will have no income.
So the monthly income that you reported to pretrial services is all based on a services contract that you have with the state of Arizona?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And no other sources allegations aside, no other sources of income? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
All right. I think it's safe to assume, given the allegations, that the services contract between Mr. Cameron and the state might be nullified or rescinded based on the information just given to me. The court will appoint counsel for Mr. Cameron. That will be an attorney at a different office. All right, so based on that information, I have appointed counsel for you, sir. And does the state have any additional information with respect to Mr. Cameron that it would like to present at this point?
Your Honor, nothing additional. A reminder, perhaps, that over the past week, he's withdrawn over $42,000, but nothing as to ongoing source of income, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the mention of going to Belize was in humor to the clerk, not the clerk.
Let me give you this warning,
okay,
sir,
yes, sir.
before
Sorry.
you continue, and I will let you continue if that's what you want to do. So I've appointed a lawyer for you.
Yes.
Everything that you're saying right now is being recorded. The prosecutors are here in the room. Anything that you say, if they feel will help them prove their case at any future court proceedings, you can bet as I'm sitting here that they will use it against you.
Understand,
So
sir.
with that warning, go ahead.
All I'm saying is I am in no way a flight risk. I had a stroke in January. I had a seizure 3 weeks ago. I'm under constant 3 to 6 month care by Mayo Hospital. I'm not supposed to be traveling out of the country because insurance is prohibitive. I'm a third generation Phoenician. I've been a small businessman for over 30 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm in no way, shape, or form a flight risk. I've got children and grandchildren here. There's no place else that's home for me besides here.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. The court has considered the remarks of Mr. Cameron. The court has considered remarks of the state's counsel. Again, this is an initial appearance. This is the beginning of what is going to be a longer process. Based on the information available to me at this point, the court does agree that $1 million cash-only bond is reasonable. In addition, pretrial services and electronic monitoring are ordered. This is not a permanent decision. You and your lawyer will know how to petition the court for modifications of the release conditions as new developments arise, and that's true for both sides. Among your release conditions, do not return to the scene of the alleged crime, no contact with any of the alleged witnesses or complainants, the arresting officers, or any co-defendant, no drugs without any valid prescription, continue to provide the court with the proof of a local address, and you also must surrender any passport at your next court date if you are released. All right, sir, if you step to the right and sign where indicated, you'll get a copy of this document as well.
Your Honor, I take 7 to 8 medications. I don't have a list of them. I would like to.
As part of the booking process, I believe it's a nurse, but it's a medical person from the Correctional Health Services will interview you, and so you'll have to give them all the information.
But I don't have the information.
Okay. A family member could call the jail and give them that information.
But it's imperative that I get these medications. I wasn't allowed to take, or I couldn't take blood thinner today.
I understand that. A family member can provide that information. All right. All right. Please step to the right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that is the video that was provided to us courtesy of Andrew. Has been initial appearance of those 2 individuals arrested in this so-called fraud. Andrew is doing a follow-up story today. Hopefully we'll be able to chat with him this afternoon and find out what other information he has learned of. All right, guys, now we are going to go live to downtown Phoenix. I believe a protest is underway, some sort of event. I believe this has to do with education.
Demonstrate those same
In fact,
skills.
education organizations and advocates
Good morning.
urging
As
Ducey to
Julie
call a special
said, I
session
am Dr.
and
Jennifer
end
Johnson,
an inflationary funding
serving as
lawsuit.
the executive director for Support Our Schools AZ, a statewide grassroots parent advocacy organization. As a part of the work of SOSAZ, the Arizona Parent Network represents parent leaders from all corners of Arizona, many of whom are with me here this morning. On behalf of the parents and families of those 1.1 million children, we are calling on the governor and the legislature to finally resolve the court-ordered resolution to the inflation funding owed to our children. As parents, we hold our students accountable for following directions, respecting authority, and doing what is right. Arizona parents expect the legislature to do the same thing and resolve this funding crisis now. Our children do not escape accountability because they are finding it inconvenient or not in the mood or disagree with it. Parents hold the governor and the legislature to the same high expectations and high standards and insist that they follow court orders, respect authority, and do what is right for our children. The parents of 1.1 million children are watching this issue very carefully, and we are not going away. Parents are tired of excuses, tired of stall tactics. We believe that the governor and the legislators must demonstrate their commitment to our children today, not wait until next year or the year after that or the year after that. As parents, we want to believe that our policymakers sincerely want what we want for our children, an excellent education that leads to a prosperous future. We would look forward to working with the governor and the legislature towards that goal. Today, we know that there is enough of our tax dollars available to the governor and to the legislature to resolve the inflation funding lawsuit. The resolution of this lawsuit is an immediate step that can and must be taken to begin the longer process of providing equitable, stable, and sufficient funding for Arizona's public schools. Our children deserve a world-class education. Arizona's economic prosperity demands that our children receive a world-class public education. Parents across Arizona will work tirelessly to make sure that our voices are heard by policymakers who hold the key to the future prosperity of our children. To Governor Ducey and to the legislatures, be good role models for our children. No excuses, no stalling, no manipulation, no denials. Exercise your best critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, and citizenship skills to get this job done. Provide the resources the courts have ordered you to provide today, not next year. Call a special session immediately and resolve this issue. Our children are watching. Educators are watching. Parents are watching and are tired of waiting. And voters are watching and are ready for action. Thank you.
Buenos días, me llamo Lupita Juárez, estoy con la mesa directiva de One Arizona. My name is Lupita Juárez. I will be speaking in Spanish for our Spanish mediums and introducing our next guest. Les presento hoy, esta mañana, a Francisca Montoya, nuestra invitada, presidente del Distrito Escolar Fowler.
Buenos días. Gracias a todos los medios de comunicación en español por estar aquí presente. Lo que les vamos a presentar hoy es algo de suma importancia para la comunidad en Arizona y en particular a la comunidad latina. Como mencionaron, mi nombre es Francisca Montoya y soy la presidente de la mesa directiva del Distrito Escolar Fowler. Me dirijo hoy como miembro fundador de la Asociación Latina de Miembros de Mesas Directivas Escolares en Arizona. Dicha organización se compone de miembros electos de mesas directivas escolares a través del estado de Arizona. Nos hemos unido para proveer una voz a las necesidades únicas de nuestra población de estudiantes latinos, que cada día aumenta en el estado. Hoy se hace un llamado al gobernador Ducey que llame a una sesión especial de la legislatura para resolver el caso legal de inflación, conocido como inflation funding. Los residentes del estado de Arizona y nuestros niños merecen ver que el gobernador Ducey está trabajando con la legislatura para encontrar una manera a reestablecer.
All right, guys, I know that simultaneously there is a police update on the shooting of that Fox Lake, Illinois cop.
Este caso legal.
I'm going to cut away to that briefly since right now this is just in Spanish.
Speak about that. That is relevant information in our criminal investigation.
Are you still considering the suspects armed?
I would consider anybody who murdered a police officer as being extremely dangerous.
Do you have any indication of that this area is still? Do you suspect they're in the area? Do you think they're outside?
We haven't gone away from that theory. However, anything's possible. Obviously, we have a lot of transportation means in this area, trains, cars, buses. We're still working off the fact that we're presuming that there is a good probability that they are still somewhere in the area. Now, whether they're in Fox Lake or any of the surrounding border communities, that remains to be seen.
Talking about that video, can you just maybe just give us a brief description? I mean, obviously it came from a private person, it's later on the public cell phone. Can you tell us anything about what that video shows at all, or any kind of?
Well, as I pointed out, we've turned it over to the lab for them to retrieve it off of the hard drive, so we haven't actually had a chance to review it. We're just going by what the individual is telling us about the video, but until we actually see it and see if it's of relevance and the quality of the video, I'm not at liberty to answer that question.
Was that person told you consistent with that you're still looking for 3 suspects?
Yes.
Were there any footprints from this?
All right, guys, we're going to go back to this in a little bit, but I want to go back to the education protest now with someone else speaking.
Insufficient funding is easily defined. There is not political ambiguity for my colleagues. When the legislature and the governor choose year after year after year after year to fund schools at a rate less than inflation, it is with the knowledge that prices everywhere else are going up, but the money that they are providing is less. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Good teachers leave. Classroom sizes swell. Programs are cut. And then that is all used as evidence for the prosecution of public education.
Right on.
At some point, a voter-mandated initiative that comes with a judicial mandate, at a time where money exists, the moment has arrived for funding for classrooms to be at the appropriate level. We are long overdue. So on behalf of my children, on behalf of my students, and on behalf of my colleagues who give of themselves daily, selflessly, repeatedly, and benevolently, I ask the governor and I ask the legislature to comply with a voter-approved initiative, with a judicial mandate, and with funds that exist to properly, appropriately fund public education. Thank you.
Nuestra próxima invitada es Petra Falcón de la organización Promise Arizona.
Pues muy buenos días a todos. Soy Petra Falcón, directora ejecutiva de Promesa Arizona. En acción, Promesa Arizona aquí nació bajo de estos árboles. En aquellos tiempos estábamos luchando contra la SBD 70. Pero aquí ahora estamos este día para mandar un mensaje a nuestro gobernador y representantes. No seremos silenciados. El financiamiento a las escuelas es un asunto de derechos civiles. El recorte a nuestras escuelas tiene el mayor impacto en aquellas con una mayoría de estudiantes de alta pobreza. Estos no son nuestros niños, no son tus niños, no son los niños de él o de ella, son nuestros niños y tenemos una responsabilidad hacia nuestros hijos. Durante demasiado tiempo hemos oído que no podemos darnos el lujo de financiar nuestras escuelas. Eso simplemente no es correcto, no es cierto. El Estado cuenta con más de 7,000 millones, $700 million en las reservas. 325,000 millones en surplus, $325 million en surplus y más de 450 millones en fondos de emergencia. Deben dejar de poner pretextos, debemos dejar de conformarnos con las sobras. Estamos organizando por el futuro de nuestros hijos. Hoy hacemos una promesa para nuestros hijos. No seremos licenciados. Y hasta que nuestros representantes, especialmente nuestro gobernador, nos escuchen, nuestras voces seguirán creciendo más fuerte. Ahora ya sabemos cómo tocar puertas, sabemos cómo registrar a la gente a votar. Los padres de estas millones de estudiantes deberían de hablar al gobernador. Toquen en la puerta, vayan a su
All right, guys, it appears we have some technical difficulties. We're going to go back to Fox Lake, Illinois, where police are giving us an update on the shooting of their fellow officer.
I'd just like to keep it that way for now.
Has there been a history of complaints in that specific area? It's kind of remote way back there, and from what I understand, there's been numerous...
Yeah, we've checked on previous incidents. Obviously, it's part of our process is to see if there's anything that's occurred in an area. Yes, it's an open area. There have been a number of complaints, anything from vandalism to what they refer to here as squatters, people living in some of the structures that are out there. So yes, there have been some complaints, and there's been some vandalism to some of the village-owned property out there. I believe there's a public works facility right there.
Where is this being sent, this video?
All right, guys, back to the protest. Looks like we have gotten that video back.
331, 336 on the future. You're proposing a one-time solution, which then leads to the other half of the question: are you willing to support the governor's proposal to take money from the trust fund so you have an ongoing funding for the next 10 years?
The issue with the governor's trust fund is really that doesn't address any of the questions until several years down the road. We don't know if it's going to get through the legislature. We don't know if the voters are going to approve it. And that's the point of today's press conference, is that what we're talking about is that there is a crisis in education today, and we have the funds to help alleviate that crisis today. So what we are saying to the governor and to legislators is, let's not ignore this today. Let's not push it off another 2 years. I think it would be great to talk about that once we've settled the lawsuit, right? Because we should be talking about additional ways to bring money into education. Completely agree with that statement, Howie. But we need to talk about what's going on today. We need to get through the stall tactics right away.
Okay, but even if the legislature uses the $330 million surplus and the Brady Day fund, it gets us out a couple of years, but that's not the ongoing funding that this lawsuit requires.
Correct. And so wouldn't it be wonderful if the legislature came together and they determined that they need to figure out what it is to fulfill the will of the voters? Because really the job is on them. The job is not on all of these folks. This is why they were elected. So it really is their responsibility to figure out how in the long term we fund education to the will of the voters.
Does that mean higher taxes?
Well, that's up to the legislature.
Okay. So, well, I guess my question is, I appreciate what you're saying about how if you could have a special session called next week on the governor's plan and put this thing on the ballot November. I don't know if you can get much faster action out of these folks even on appropriating the $325 million. Would that make you happy?
What are you talking about putting on the ballot in November?
In other words,
this is about settling the lawsuit.
But what I'm saying is you could get as much money, you could get that money if you put on the ballot in November.
It doesn't need to
the
go
trust
on the ballot.
fund.
The money's there now.
The money's there now.
Money's there right now. It needs to pay now.
Come on,
Write a check.
I'm gonna let somebody else address this as well.
Sure.
Resolving the funding crisis for Arizona's public schools is a long-term proposition. We didn't arrive at this point overnight, and we're not going to get out of this crisis overnight. The first step is resolving this lawsuit, and then the discussion needs to continue to find the long-term solution about how we invest appropriately in our children and in the educators who serve our children.
Let me talk about something more fundamental. My sense is that you can call for a special session all you want, but what about his willingness to do so? How do you deal with that? That's going to be a challenge, I would imagine.
Well, we're certainly hoping that he pays attention to all of the groups who represent thousands and thousands of Arizonans who vote and who are asking him to take this action. He can exert his leadership. He can resolve this issue before the end of this month if he wants to, and we're certainly hoping that he does.
I seem to sense, for lack of a better way of painting with a broad brush, there seems to be a fairly Democrat large D crowd, and this is a Republican capital R legislature. So how exactly are you going to convince a Republican governor, a Republican Senate, and a Republican House to come up with a Democrat solution?
Well, I think regardless of your political party, you're required to follow court orders and you're required to follow the law. And you should, as an elected official, be paying attention to the will of the voters. If I were an ordinary citizen and I had been taken to court and found in judgment, I'm pretty sure I would be required as a citizen to pay whatever judgment was levied against me. Why would the legislature not be the same as any other citizen in this state?
But like any other, wait a second, but like any other citizen, they have, wait a second, like any other citizen, they have a right to appeal, which they are doing. So you would have the right to appeal, so why shouldn't the legislature pursue this through the Court of Appeals as it is now into the Supreme Court? Do they not have that right?
Voters. We're not saying that they don't have the right to appeal. We're saying that this situation has dragged on and on and on, and the mandate is very clear. So they should find a resolution as quickly as possible. They can if they want to.
The Senate President has...
Hold on 1 second.
I just want to make a comment. Can we bring it back to the children? Yeah. There are over 1 million children in our classrooms. They are not D's and they are not R's. They are just children, and we have the responsibility for their futures. That's what we should be talking about, and the D's and the R's need to get out of the way, and let's focus on what we need to do for the children.
I have a question for Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Can you give us some specific examples of how the lack of funding is hurting you as a teacher?
Yeah. The names that come to mind immediately are Kelsey and Liz. Kelsey and Liz are teachers that were entering their 5th year of teaching. They chose not to come back. For 2 of the 5 years, they did not, or excuse me, 2 of the 5 years, they saw an incremental increase. They are carrying crippling college debt. They didn't want to leave, but they could no longer afford to stay. They are but 2 names. Over the course of the past decade, I have watched countless promising educators, many of whom never saw a comma in their paycheck, indicate that it was time for them to go and do something else. Not because they didn't love what they did or they didn't love their kids, but because they could no longer afford to feed their families. They could no longer afford insurance. They could no longer make ends meet. We have made it difficult for public servants with benevolent hearts to continue in this profession. There are more names, but I'll just give you the 2 from my school. There are countless in my district and across the state.
Right on. But you're acting like, if they fund this, like the court says, it's going to alleviate those problems. It's only about $300 per student if you fund that. I mean, you can't reasonably expect that's going to cure and keep more teachers.
Forgive me, I don't know what I was acting like. What I would suggest is that a commitment from the legislature, the governor, and the state in general to public education would mean a great deal. If we continue to be at the bottom of per pupil funding, we are going to continue to struggle to get the best and brightest to come to this profession. So I admit, this is not a one-time solution. We have a large problem funding public education that will not be resolved if the governor and legislature were to say tomorrow, here's $325 million. We're not done. We have much work to do. So forgive me if I led you to the impression that this is a one-time solution. It is the first step in a meaningful conversation about properly funding public education.
Would you advocate using all of that surplus just solely for education? Is that what you're envisioning?
I find it strange that I'm in the position that I should be advocating for money that a judge has required be paid. So I will step away and I will allow the legislature and the governor to decide which voter-approved initiatives and which judicial mandates they intend to follow.
Well, but it's a valid question. You know, the Department of we have, you know, more prisoners coming in. We have health needs. If there's $325 million in the box, if you want to call it that, you're basically saying, we get first claim to it, no?
I am suggesting that Proposition 301, the inflationary funding from the voters and from the judge, that's what's being said. I'm not saying that, others have said that.
Can I say one thing regarding your question, Howie? Sure. Is why is it that whenever the legislature doesn't fund, propositions and mandates by the voters, that the voters are then asked to somehow make a choice? It really is the responsibility of the legislatures. For the legislators to come back to the voters and say, well, if we fund this, then we can't fund that. No, we really don't have it that way. It isn't a one or the other. They have made these choices over the course of many years. Their choices, our legislators' choices, are what got us into this situation. They need to figure out how we get out of this situation.
Okay. Well, before we all melt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. This is nothing.
I know. It's not 100 yet.
I'm so glad you stepped in and put it right back into perspective. It's about the kids.
It's about the
and our future.
And our babies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But how come it doesn't surprise me you were the one that said it? But you need to go to the right there when you said it. That's right.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on this protest that's going on right here in Phoenix. I am joining you now with some sort of breaking news. I don't know if you guys heard about the serial flasher in Tempe. It was all over our newscast last night and this morning. Well, we have some news. He has been caught. I'm going to go ahead and pull up these images for you now because this was already on my list of stories to share with you guys, mostly because I just wanted to show you, like, look, guys, there's this dude that's being considered a serial flasher, and these are the pictures of him. Obviously, these are G-rated photos that we are showing you, but this guy is the serial flasher who was wanted. We just heard from authorities not too long ago, just a few minutes ago actually, that the Tempe police have located this indecent exposure suspect, and he is now currently in custody. Thanks to the media coverage and the power of social media, the Tempe police received 8 community tips about the identity of the suspect after these images were released. The first tip came in just an hour after the alert was disseminated. The investigation remains active and open, and police hope to have a booking photo and a suspect name to provide to us a little bit later this afternoon. So these are the details. If you did hear about the serial flasher in Tempe anytime in the last day, well, I'm just here to update you that this man has now been arrested. If you want additional information, let me just read that to you here. More details on this so-called serial flasher. This individual, we got news of it yesterday. Both Tempe and Scottsdale police investigating 2 indecent exposure incidents in Tempe and 1 attempted exposure incident in Scottsdale committed by this same adult male suspect. Law enforcement working together, asking for the media to help identify this suspect. That was what they issued to us yesterday. Now, in terms of the specific details, the first incident occurred on June 24th, 2015. That subject that you're looking at in these images exposed himself to the victim. The victim was a female clerk inside the Circle K located at 5240 South Rural Road in Tempe at a time when there were no other customers inside the store. He then fled. Now, the second incident that we know of, at least, was in August, almost 2 months later, August 21st. A suspect followed a female victim in a parking lot of a Walmart at 15,355 Northside Drive in Scottsdale. So, at a Walmart, in a Walmart parking lot in North Scottsdale, attempted to pull his shorts down and expose himself. The intended victim pulled away in her vehicle prior to the suspect being able to fully reveal his, you guys know what I'm talking about. Incident number 3 occurred less than a week later, August 27th. The same suspect entered Rag-O-Rama, the 600 block of East University Drive in Tempe. He browsed through clothing, then exposed himself to a female store employee, or multiple female store employees rather, and then fled. All the targeted victims have been females. All 3 incidents happened during daylight hours, and in all instances, the suspect wore that red baseball cap that you see in this photo. That red baseball cap has lettering on a white, with lettering on a white background on the brow of the hat. So there you had it. He was described as a white male, thick sideburns, approximately 30 to 49 years old, approximately 5'8 to 5'11 in height, medium build. He was driving a dark-colored 4-door lifted Ford F-20 truck. These were the details that police gave us yesterday, and thankfully, because of community involvement, this man has now been arrested. So there is the update with that. Thought I'd give you an update on the serial rapist. Also, some additional news. You guys know that the Kentucky clerk, she has been trending nationwide after she refused to issue same-sex marriage licenses. She appeared in court yesterday. She was found in contempt of court. That just happened very recently. I do believe I have a soundbite in connection with this right here. This is a soundbite that reacts to the hearing. And you can see some video of some protesters outside of the court as well. Let me just pull this up for you guys now, so you guys get an update with this situation. Kim Davis, that is the name of the Kentucky clerk. You can see people in protest of her actions, but then also people in the crowd, some supporting her actions, depending on the side you are reading. Just lots of people out there outside the court sharing their point of view. I wish I made $80,000 to not do my job, is what that sign said, implying that she gets paid $80,000 to issue these marriage licenses, and yet she refuses.
The biggest thing
to
our
do
group
so.
stands for is equality, and whenever we see inequality, it's usually religion rearing its ugly head. We want equal rights. Gay people should get married. The Supreme Court ruled on this. We just want equal rights for everybody. She has the right in this country to have her religious beliefs, to believe whatever they are, but as an elected official, she doesn't have that right to impose that belief on the people. Belief doesn't matter. This is the law. So it doesn't matter what people believe, what their faith is, what they think. This is the law. We have to follow the law.
Today we come to stand for God and support our county clerk, Kim Davis. I think when they should have thought this out some more before they put the law or whatever it is in effect. They should come out with a better thing, because it seems like they've targeted her, because any county surrounding Rowan County, they can go. And I don't understand it, because they can go anywhere. It's not like they're being denied them. They can still go somewhere, but they seem to target our county clerk for it. So we wanted to come and show her that no matter what, we support her. And we feel like this is going to be a downward spiral. It starts with the county clerks. It's going to go on down. Well, next they're going to be attacking our preachers and our churches. And we more or less, we want to see the freedoms that I fought for, our Constitution and the Word of God withheld. And we still want to be one nation under God. And
all right, that is a wrap on some of the video we just got straight from Kentucky, people reacting to the county clerk hearing. We'll update you more on that story as we get more information. But right now I want to take you live to an event being held by Donald Trump. Donald Trump will be holding a press conference any minute now. You can see all the people awaiting Donald Trump's arrival. He has met with the Republican National Committee chairman. I know it had to do with a loyalty pledge of sorts, being loyal to the Republican Party. Donald Trump will be speaking any minute now. We are just waiting for him to arrive to take the podium and speak. As you guys know, during the live debate on Fox News Channel last month, all the candidates were asked if they would rule out a third-party run. The one individual who raised their hand implying that they would not rule it out was Donald Trump. So obviously all eyes are on Trump today after it was revealed that he was meeting with the RNC leader. Very interested in hearing what Trump has to say. If he did pledge his support to the Republican Party, that's what we're hearing, but we will get the official word from Mr. Trump himself in just a few minutes, so stay tuned.
Check. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the next President of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for all being here. This is some turnout. My great honor. The chairman just left, as you probably know, and he's been extremely fair. The RNC has been absolutely terrific over the last 2-month period. And as you know, that's what I've wanted. I've wanted fairness. I don't have to be treated any differently than anybody else. I just wanted fairness from the Republican Party. We're leading in every single poll. A new poll came out today where we're over 30%. We've actually hit numbers as high as 35 and 40%. And frankly, I felt that the absolute best way to win and to beat the Democrats, and very easily, I think, beat the Democrats, no matter who it may be, whether it's Hillary or anybody else. And I think maybe Hillary's going to have a very hard time frankly, with what's happening getting to the starting gate. The best way for the Republicans to win is if I win the nomination and go directly against whoever they happen to put up. And for that reason, I have signed the pledge.
Yeah.
So I will be totally pledging my allegiance to the Republican Party and the conservative principles for which it stands, and we will go out and we will fight hard and we will win. We will win. And most importantly, we will make our country great again, because that's what it's all about. We have to make our country great again. With that, are there any questions? Yes.
Bragged in the past about how when it suits you, that you bend the law, joke to the audience in Alabama about taking lobbyist money and screwing them over afterwards. Why would anyone think this pledge means anything?
This is a self-funded campaign. We have our heart in it. We have our soul in it. I don't need money. I don't want money. And this is going to be a campaign like I think no other. I'm not controlled by lobbyists. I'm not controlled by anybody. I'm controlled by the people of the country in order to make our country great again. Yes, sir.
What did you get? Because you're a great negotiator. You talk about it all the time. You say you got fairness, but the process really hasn't been begun.
Yeah, I got nothing. All I have, I really got nothing. The question was, what did I get for signing the pledge? Absolutely nothing, other than the assurance that I would be treated fairly. And I've seen that over the last 2 months, but they really have been very fair.
Is there a right to change your mind?
No, I have no intention of changing my mind. Well, I think the big thing, Dana, that's changed is, and it's been obvious to all, number one, after I announced, we went up like a rocket ship. Nobody thought I was going to run, and they said, oh, he won't run, and he won't put in his papers, and he won't do all of this. I did that. The papers in terms of the company turned out to be spectacular. It's a great company. I built a great company. And all of the other papers have turned out to be very well received. And I think the thing that changed is the fact that I went to number one place very quickly after I signed and after I, in this building, notified everybody that I'd be running for president. So I think the biggest thing is that I went early to number one, and the RNC has treated me with great respect. So that was very important. Yes. No, I see no circumstances under which I would tear up that pledge. Well, you don't have to be met when you're at 2%. It's one of those things. That's the way life works. And I like Governor Christie, by the way. Well, the chairman asked if he could come up. You saw him. He was here a little while ago. And I was greatly honored that he did come up, frankly.
Can you clarify your comments, what you said about Jeb Bush with Breitbart, that he wasn't setting an example by speaking Spanish to the crowd? Can you clarify what you said there?
Well, I think that when you get right down to it, we're a nation that speaks English. And I think while we're in this nation, we should be speaking English. And that's how assimilation takes. And that's how, I mean, whether people like it or not, that's how we assimilate. And that's how we go on to that next phase and that next stage. And that's how people that don't speak English, and I'm not just talking about Spanish, I'm talking about from various parts of the world, that's how they will become successful and do great. So I think it's more appropriate to be speaking English. Yes. Well, one of the things I want to do, and I feel very strongly, it's a country based on borders, and our country is based on laws. And when people come into the country illegally, we should not allow that. And this is not from South America, this is not from Mexico, this is from all over the world. When people come illegally, we cannot allow that. And I want people to come legally. I want very much to take care of our border, because our southern border is a total mess. That's been proven. And interestingly, a couple of months ago when I announced, I made some very strong statements about the crime and the problems that were happening, and I've been proven right. And many of the people in this audience actually have apologized to me, which I very much appreciate. Of course, they haven't done it publicly, but these are minor details. Someday they will. The fact is that we are a nation that wants and needs borders. We're a nation that wants and needs and is based on laws. And we will make sure that that takes place. With that being said, I want people to come into our country legally. I want to have a big, fat, beautiful, open door. I want people of great talent to come in for Silicon Valley. I want engineers. I want physicists. I want people with great talent to come into the United States. When people graduate from college, you can be #1 in your class at Harvard, or #1 at Yale, or the Wharton School of Finance, or Princeton, or Stanford. And immediately, if you're not a citizen of the United States, you get thrown out of the country. We want those people to stay. We want people of great talent to be in the United States, to work here, and ultimately to become a citizen. I don't know enough about it to comment on it. Was she jailed? I really don't know much about it. No. Yes, go ahead. That's absolutely false. I win at golf. I win at golf. That I can tell you. Yes. Well, I understand how the system works maybe better than anybody. I understand the political system, and I understand also very much a system of coming in for illegal immigrants. Don't forget, if I didn't bring up the subject of illegal immigration, you wouldn't be asking the question. Nobody would even be talking about immigration. And immigration, and in particular illegal immigration, has become a very big factor. Now, a lot of bad things have happened with respect to crime since I brought it up. But if I didn't bring it up, immigration would not even be a subject that we're talking about. And it happens to be a very important subject. I have to say this, it can also be a very positive subject, because I believe so strongly in immigration, and we have to stop illegal immigration, and we have to look forward to great immigration done in a legal manner. But if I didn't bring it up, nobody would be talking about it. No, go ahead. Well, there is gridlock in Congress right now, and that's because there's no leadership at the top. You have to be able to lead. You have to get people into your office. You have to get people, go to them, any way you want to do it. But you have to be able to lead. There is no leadership at the top. Signing executive orders is not the way our country was supposed to be run. Yeah, go ahead. I don't want to talk about that here. It's inappropriate. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Tom Brady. Well, Tom Brady is a very good friend of mine. He's a great guy. For those of you that don't know him, he's a very honorable guy and an honest guy and a truly great athlete. He is really a very good friend of mine, and I just spoke to him a little while ago. He's so thrilled and so happy. Tom Brady, I think what they've done is terrible, and he has been exonerated, as I understand it, because I just heard about it. But I'm very happy for Tom. As far as the commission is concerned, they're having a rough year, let's face it. They're having a very rough year. Yeah, go ahead. Well, in Europe, they have tremendous problems where people are going in and storming, and it's a huge humanitarian problem. And I just say this, the United States has tremendous problems of their own. We have infrastructure that we have to fix. We have bridges and roads and tunnels, and everything's falling apart. Our nation's in such trouble. That's why being a builder, and a great builder, and a very successful builder, I think will greatly help. But we have so many of our own problems, including the border, including the wall, which we will get built. The premiums have gone up 45, 50, 55%. People are saying this is turning out to be a disaster. Deductibles are through the roof. The deductibles on Obamacare, it's through the roof. So we have a lot of problems. We have to take care of our vets. We have to build up our military. Just the other day, General Ordiano said that the Army is in the worst shape in its history in terms of preparedness. Now, for them to be in bad shape with the way we are and with the world hating us, and you look at Hillary Clinton, and I've said she's the worst Secretary of State in the history of this country. Now, in all fairness, because of the agreement that's about to be finalized with Iran, John Kerry may very well take her place. I think that agreement is a disaster for this country, for Israel, for the Middle East. It's going to lead to nuclear proliferation, the 24-day clause, everything about, we don't even get our prisoners back. You say, who negotiates a thing like that? That won't happen, I can guarantee you, with the President Trump. All right, one or two more questions. Yeah. You'll see it later, yeah. They don't want to hear it. Yeah, go ahead. Could you say it up, please? All I want them to do, yeah, and say hello to Rosanna and Greg, okay? Great people. I would say, very simply, I just want to be treated like everybody else. You see, I was always the fair-haired boy. I was a big contributor. Nobody knows the system, but I was on the other side. And I was the elite. I was the fair-haired person. Once I ran, all of a sudden, I was a little bit of an outsider. I became an outsider because I was running, because I wasn't supposed to run. I'm this businessman that people have given me great credit as being a great businessman, but I'm not supposed to be running for office. The fact is that our country is being killed on trade by China, by Japan, by Mexico, both at the border and on trade. And I'm not knocking those countries. Their leaders are much, much smarter than our leaders. They are absolutely killing us. China, taking our jobs, taking our money, taking our base. And think of this, we owe China $1.4 trillion. And we're paying them interest. We owe Japan, with all of the cars coming in, the same amount, $1.4 trillion. That's like a magic act. They send the cars in, they take our jobs, they do everything, and we owe them money. That's not going to happen with me. It's been a long time. Go. Well, Jeb Bush is a very nice man. I'll be honest. I think he's a very nice person. I think he's a very low-energy person, and I don't think that's what the country needs. I hear that he's going to spend a lot of money on negative ads on me, and honestly, look, he's getting the money from special interests. He's getting the money from lobbyists and his donors. And they're making him do it because he's crashing in the polls. So I don't know what's going to happen. If he spends $20 million or $25 million on negative ads, I don't know. I know that my life will continue. I just don't know. I mean, nobody's ever spent money on ads against me. But he probably has to do that, although it would not be the way I've done. You know, one of the things that I'm most honored about is that so far, everybody that's attacked me has gone down the tubes. You have Lindsey Graham attacked me. He was at 3%. Now he's at 0. You have Perry attacked me. Now he's getting out of the race. He was at 4 or 5%. Now he's getting out of the race. He was at 0. Everybody, Rand Paul attacked me. I see the last poll, the Monmouth poll, just came out today, where I'm leading by double figures, and Rand Paul is down to less than 2%, and he attacked me. Now, Jeb Bush also just went down in the Monmouth poll, very big. So, I don't know. I mean, he's going to spend lobbyists' money and special interest money. Remember this. They have total control over Jeb and Hillary and everybody else that takes that money. Nobody knows the system better than me. They have total control. You understand it very well because you've been covering it for a long time. Those people that are putting up those millions of dollars have total control over your candidate. I will tell you this. Nobody's putting up millions of dollars for me. I'm putting up my own money. In fact, I feel a little bit foolish. People are offering me millions and millions of dollars. You know, when you're in first place, you can collect so much money. And I keep turning them down. I feel like, am I a fool? I feel very foolish. And when I was in Iowa last week, I said, what do you think? Can I take, one man offered me, a big lobbyist, offered $5 million for my campaign. I said to the crowd in Iowa, great crowd, 4,000 people, I said, can I take it? And will you believe I'm not going to do anything? I promise you, I swear to you, I won't do anything. And they all stood up and said, no, no, don't take it. The fact is, I'm the only self-funder. I'm putting up my own money. I know there have been some super PACs, 5 or 6 super PACs, where people are forming super PACs for Trump. I have nothing to do with them. As you know, you're not allowed to have anything to do with them. So I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully, if they're going to do something, it's going to be nice, but I don't know anything about them. But just in a nutshell, I'm funding my own campaign, nobody else's. When people advertise, and I hope the voters can see this, every negative ad they see about me is paid for by lobbyists and special interests. So just remember that. Yeah, go ahead. Our country can be doing much better. We have deficits that are enormous. We have all bad trade agreements. We have an army that the head said is not prepared. We have a military that needs help, and especially in these times. We have nuclear weapons that you look at 60 Minutes, they don't even work. Okay? If anybody saw that report, the phones don't work. They're 40 years old. They have wires that are no good. Nothing works. Our country doesn't work. Everybody wins except us. We need victories in this country. We don't have victories anymore. Our country will be great again, but right now our country has major problems. Yes, ma'am. Who is who? Yes, Carly. I think it's great that she's in the debate. I was in favor of her being. I think she should be in the debate. I don't like that fact that there are 11 people now. As I understand it, they're not getting rid of Rand Paul or somebody. But, and they should, because there's too many people. Because when you have 11, you're not going to hear me and you're not going to hear other people talking. And I think that's too bad. I think 11 is a lot of people. But I was very happy that she got into the debate because, frankly, she deserved to be in the debate. Okay? I think maybe he's inclined not to get in the race. I think it's going to depend on what happens with Hillary Clinton. A lot of people think that she will not be able to make it legally from a criminal standpoint to the starting gate. I don't know that to be true. But I think it depends on what happens with her. I think if she gets out, he will get in. I think if she stays in, he might not. Who knows?
Mr. Trump, Jeb Bush's campaign manager said yesterday on Twitter, you're tearing apart the GOP. Jeb Bush today on Good Morning America said you don't believe in tolerance. And the pharmacy chairman did come here, but where is he?
Oh, he's not supposed to be here because he was here. He was up in my office, and he got the pledge, and we're very happy about that. We don't want anything. And I told him, I said, I don't know if it's appropriate, Reince, for you to be here because I don't want anything. You know, you guys will end up saying he's endorsing Trump. That would be inappropriate for him. So I suggested, frankly, that I'm fine with him not being here because I don't want anybody to think he's endorsing. As far as Jeb is concerned, I watched him this morning on television, and it's a little bit sad. Don't forget, he was supposed to win, and he just doesn't have the energy. But what he does have is a lot of money that was given to him, again, by special interest donors and lobbyists. And I just hope that if he spends money on ads, which he may not, if I were him, I'd spend money on positive ads about himself. Because if he knocks me, assuming people leave, and maybe they're at a point where they're not going to leave because they're fed up with what's happening in this country, but I think they're going to go to people other than Jeb. Yeah, go ahead. I don't know. I'm right now, I'm interested in jobs. One thing, in one of the groups, it was actually CNN, I shouldn't say that, but they did a very massive poll. And I came out #1 in leadership, #1 on the economy, #1 in jobs producing. And I don't mean by #1, I mean like #1 by many, many times. And I am so intent on putting people back to work in this country. You know, we have 93 million people that are not in the workforce right now. 93 million. When they give up looking for a job, they take them off the stats. They take them off the statistics. We have 93 million people. We have 50 million people between poverty levels and welfare and all. Our country can be great again. We have to put people back to work. All right, one or two more. Okay, would I bring my children into the administration? I will tell you they are very capable. The answer is probably not. But having them in would be very good. They're very, very capable children. Second part, I won't bother asking because it's no longer pertinent. Okay, yes, back there. Go ahead. Kanye West, you know what? I'll never say bad about him. You know why? Because he loves Trump. He loves Trump. He goes around saying, Trump is my all-time hero. He says it to everybody. So Kanye West, I love him. Now, maybe in a few years I'll have to run against him. I don't know, so I'll take that back. But you know what? He's been so nice to me. I sort of, you people have sort of seen, because I've been a counterpuncher. I only hit people when they hit me. Only. And Kanye West has been so great. I would never say bad about him because he says such nice things about me. No, my supporters are really supporting me because I'm very competent, because they know that I'm not going to let China rip us off. I'm not going to let Japan rip us off. Japan is devaluing their yen. Very hard for Caterpillar and other companies to compete against Komatsu, their big tractor maker, and others. We're not going to let this happen anymore. They do. You talk about a trade imbalance. They have in Japan the biggest ships you've ever seen, pouring cars into Los Angeles, pouring them in. I've never seen anything like it. We send them beef, and they don't even want it. It's going to end, and they're going to like us. In this building, I have the largest bank in the world, right up in these elevators. It's a bank from China, by far the biggest bank in the world. I get along great with China. I get along great with Japan. I get along great with Mexico. I love the people. I love the people of Mexico. I love the Hispanics. I have thousands of Hispanics right now working for me. Over the years, I have employed tens of thousands of Hispanics, many from Mexico. I have unbelievably great relationships. And in the package that we gave you, you'll see there's a poll. And I'm #1 with Hispanics. You saw that. #1 with Hispanics. So, look, for our country to be great, we have to be able to make great deals. We're going to be great to the vets. We're going to be terrific. Our military is going to be unbelievable. All of these things, we're going to get rid of Obamacare and come up with something that's much better and much less expensive. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to repeal it. It's going to be out. It should have been out a long time ago. It should have never happened. But we are going to take care of our country, and we're going to bring back jobs, and we're going to bring back wealth to the United States so we can afford to save Social Security, which I'll save without cuts, so that we can afford to do the kind of things that we have to do to make America great again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And here is your pledge. What? They put it in, yeah. Somebody else wrote it, so. We'll change it, babe. No, it's a bubble waiting to explode. And I've been saying that for a long time. I've been saying what they're doing in China is a bubble waiting to explode. And just remember something, when it's a bubble, we can't be brought down by that bubble. They've done things that caused it. We can't be brought down by that bubble. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is an amazing man. He is, as you know, right? Right? Speaker of the House of Indonesia. He's here to see me. Setya Novanto, one of the most powerful men and a great man, and his whole group is here to see me today, and we will do great things for the United States. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do they like me in Indonesia?
Yes, I like. Thank you very much.
Speaker of the House in Indonesia. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on Donald Trump's speech. As you know, the quote he specifically said was, "I have signed the pledge," meaning has pledged his loyalty to the Republican Party. Obviously, that was up in the air as to whether he would run as a third-party candidate or not. We know during the debate last month on Fox News that he raised his hand when asked if he would not rule out a third-party debate. Well, it looks like he has aligned himself with the Republican Party, has addressed his loyalty. We heard him speak right there. It was a pretty good speech, I thought, and we will hear more of him, I'm sure. He even addressed the Tom Brady situation. I don't know if you guys saw the headlines, but basically a judge just threw out the 4-game suspension that was issued to Tom Brady. Obviously, Tom Brady is very excited. NFL not too happy about that. Ron Hoon and I will be talking about that in just a minute. He is just in that conference room back there. In fact, I'll show you guys where Ron Hoon is really quickly. You'll see Ron. He's back there. He'd wave just now. See him wave? That means Ron Hoon will be approaching us shortly. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is play this one story from Joel Wallman, because as you know, we get national stories sent to us from Fox National every day, and every day they give us an update on the presidential race. So this is the update for September 3rd.
That's a good day.
A smile from the former State Department Chief of Staff under Hillary Clinton, Cheryl Mills. Mills called into a closed-door deposition about the Benghazi investigation, which triggered the private server controversy now overshadowing Clinton's presidential campaign. Clinton's longtime aide was denied a public hearing.
We have not had a public fact-finding interview with a single witness, and we're not about to treat her any differently.
Treating his opponents no differently, Donald Trump, the real estate mogul, is leading the Republican field and lashed out at Jeb Bush after this comment on the campaign trail.
No es republicano, que no es conservador.
Trump fired back on Twitter. "I like Jeb. He's a nice man, but he should really set the example by speaking English while in the United States." As GOP heavyweights throw haymakers, the Republican National Committee wants to make sure its party wins the fight for the White House. The RNC is asking its candidates to sign a pledge not to run as an independent in 2016. Chairman Reince Priebus meets with Donald Trump today, the only candidate who would not rule out a third-party run during the first debate.
Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump.
I can totally make that pledge. If I'm the nominee, I will pledge I will not run as an independent.
Other candidates who signed that pledge include Ben Carson, along with Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, and George Pataki. In Washington, Joel Waldman, Fox News.
So that's the story that Fox National sent us this morning that Joel Wallman did, but wow, have things changed over the course of the last few hours.
No kidding.
Just announcing that he signed the pledge.
Can I say that I do think that part of, and this amazes me really about Donald Trump, but he does not have a lot of political advisors. He doesn't have a huge, bureaucratic type campaign staff. He picks up the phone and makes phone calls. He's
a businessman.
Yes. And so I think that part of what makes him as successful as he is that he's excellent at reading the tea leaves. He knows the hot button issues that people really care about and are passionate about. But he also knows when something, when a potential issue is out there and it is starting to gain strength. As opposed to Hillary Clinton, who with all of her political experience and all of her background, you would think she would be expert at knowing when and how to do a little bit of damage control.
Right, but there's a difference between approaching this as a politician and
Right.
approaching it as a non-politician. And as a businessman,
Yeah.
he just, I don't know, it's different. Politicians always try to be so politically correct.
And kind of cagey.
And they
right.
try to avoid saying things or avoid answering things. Donald Trump, regardless of he's going to answer it.
He is.
He doesn't care if it offends people.
He
Whereas
is.
most politicians, when they're asked something that they don't want to answer, they shape the answer and respond with something that they want to tell the press instead. That's typical of media coaching.
Yeah,
It's a typical
but he knew that
tactic.
this was going to be a bigger and bigger and bigger issue. Jump on it, solve it, remove it from the equation.
You mean the third-party pledge issue?
Correct. Because
Or
from
the
the moment
Republican Party
from the
pledge.
moment that he raised his hand at that debate, it became an issue. And what he did today was as astute a move as you could make politically. Now, Hillary Clinton, when she held that news conference, the very first time, do you remember it was at the UN? And we talked about how it seemed like it was such an odd venue for her to do it at the UN, but hey, I had a meeting already scheduled, so I'm going to do it. But this way, I only have to answer to the UN press corps, and she was taking questions from people from other countries, as opposed to some of the big political heavyweights here, like an Ed Henry from Fox.
Right.
If on that very first occasion she would have said, not only have I not done anything wrong, the fact that this has become an issue is also making it a distraction. So effective today, I'm going to release them all. Every single email. And if some of them did get wiped off a server, I will hire the best person out there. It was by accident. And we'll hire the best person out there, and they'll retrieve them, and we'll release them all to you guys within the next 30 days. It just wouldn't have... This story today, Samia, that let me get the guy's name, because we're going to hear this name more, who set up the server for her, that he is going to plead the Fifth Amendment and invoke his constitutional right against self-incrimination, is just a stunner. I mean, it almost, I don't know, it almost reminds you of shades of a presidential past in the country a long time ago, where people were starting to plead the Fifth, refusing to
You mean Watergate?
cooperate and testify, and it's not even close to that. But they're just
But
little,
I mean, is that what you're referencing?
yes, they're just
Like
little hints and little shades of that.
something
And
that occurred 40 years ago, guys.
yeah, okay, Hooner history lessons, Samia.
There you go.
So Brian Pagliano is his name, and he helped to install the server. This is right from Fox News
Let's see if we have any stories on this right
on
now.
Pagliano.
On the whole thing, yeah. I'm gonna pull it
Yeah.
up.
So he had his lawyer, and he's already lawyered up. He had his lawyer, Pagliano's attorney, a guy named Mark McDougall, explained Pagliano's decision, saying the FBI investigation into whether classified national security information was mishandled when it passed through Mrs. Clinton's server was enough to concern him that he will plead the Fifth. So, it just, again, if there's nothing to hide here, go and
Just be open about it.
Be Donald Trump about it.
But I feel
Answer
like there's
as many
something to
questions as
hide
you
then.
can.
There's probably something to
It
hide.
gives that impression.
It doesn't look like they have sent us anything on this topic specifically today. All we have right now is Governor Christie speaking on the email scandal, so I could pull up that sound perhaps.
Okay.
We can listen to him in just a couple minutes. It'll take a while to get in the system. But
Can you pull stuff off of our, I know you've got all these feed items, can you pull stuff off of our air? Not as easily?
Depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I actually had a really good, believe it or not, really good Q&A on this very topic today in our 4:30 a.m. show with Peter Ducey, who was in for Doug Luzader. And he surprised me at how much he knew about it.
We discussed this earlier when I had the ability to just clip things really easily.
Oh, okay. It's a little bit harder now.
Well, right. If it's already clipped, I can just drag it and export it. But if
Yeah.
I have to go find it and clip it, that's not going to happen while we're on the air right now, Ron. And you guys are just watching our behind-the-scenes conversation of how the technical things work. However, if there's someone else in the newsroom that is watching this currently and wants to voluntarily clip it for us,
Yeah.
that would be lovely. However, I think everyone is fully engrossed in whatever they're doing
Are
on
they
their
now?
computers.
Are they?
I don't
Mhm.
know. There could be someone out there. There could be someone
Hold
out there.
on. Looks like most of these guys are just playing fantasy football.
Huh. Well, speaking of football, do any of them have Tom Brady on their team?
Throw down.
Oh.
Geo.
Because
Geo.
if you're playing fantasy football and you chose Tom Brady, well, you're in luck for now.
Yes. The smackdown that was given to Roger Goodell today was really something. I mean, the ESPN, what's the guy's name? Roger Cossack. And they have another legal analyst. And both of these legal analysts felt as though the judge was going to rule in the NFL's favor. But a lot of people who were in the courtroom thought that the way the questioning was going was at least leaning toward Brady. And as you and I discussed before we came on this morning, this is, I'm not sure how long it is. I know I've heard a reference to page 30-something in his document that the judge came out with. This is not a 3-page document. He has gone through every legal argument that was presented and has, particularly from the NFL, and has honestly kind of smoked it and just said, this will never hold up in a court of law. Basically saying, where's the evidence? Where is any evidence that Tom Brady either knew or directed people to deflate the footballs?
Isn't that...
That does raise... That definitely does.
Flags?
That definitely does.
Yeah, so I'm just saying things like that. But I get what you're saying. The judge doesn't see any direct, explicit evidence. However, this federal judge has thrown it out, and Goodell, the NFL, they've issued the statement. So we can go ahead and pull this up.
Oh, this will be good.
Let's go ahead and show this in full screen. We are grateful to Judge Berman for hearing this matter, but respectfully disagree with today's... What? Whoa. That happened way too fast.
Samia, you are on such a roll.
We are grateful to Judge Berman for hearing this matter, but respectfully disagree with today's decision. We will appeal today's ruling in order to
appeal today's ruling.
Yeah.
Right.
In order to uphold.
In order to uphold what?
You stop. You guys, Ron did that on purpose because he knew it was going to take time, and I was totally reading it in a timely manner. So I'm going to rewind this and try this one more time. No, we are grateful to Judge Berman for hearing this matter, but respectfully disagree with today's decision. We will appeal today's ruling in order to uphold the collectively bargained responsibility to protect the integrity of the game. The commissioner's responsibility to secure the competitive fairness of our game is a paramount principle.
Yeah,
and
paramount, but how paramount?
And our 32 clubs will continue to pursue a path to that end while the legal phase of this process continues. We look forward to focusing on football and the opening of the regular season.
Wow. Solid work, Samia.
We tried, but I got through it.
Let's see what the chat room's saying about all of this.
They're probably still talking about Trump. Oh, no, they're talking about Brady.
Okay.
Does the judge have Brady on his fantasy football team?
I've heard that line a few times already today.
That's
a good line, yeah.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Why are the courts even getting involved in football? John Doe wants to know.
Well, you know what, John? Because, I mean, this is the point. This could go to the Supreme Court. Whichever side loses in the next couple of days in the higher federal court, whichever side loses there, could, if they so chose, take it to the next level, which I believe is the actual United States Supreme Court. Then you would have taken to the U.S. Supreme Court an issue on the PSI of some footballs in a game.
It's nuts.
It's ridiculous. The judge even made the point, which is one that you and I talked about when this all broke a few months back, that if this is such a grand conspiracy, why was it that in the first half, when Tom Brady supposedly ordered the footballs, if that's what you're charging, ordered somebody to go out there and soften up these footballs, that Tom Brady didn't look very good in the first half of that game.
Right.
And at halftime, when they double-checked and made sure they were the exact measurement they were supposed to be, he comes out in the second half and throws touchdown after touchdown after touchdown.
But I think the argument here isn't about, okay, there was that game, no, that was the game.
Yeah, Indianapolis. It was the right to come to Phoenix and play the Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah. And remember then when they got on the plane and they were flying back home, we put those pictures of them getting on the plane, and we had all these viewers from Boston who were tuning in. So, I mean, a lot of people love Tom Brady. A lot of people hate Tom Brady.
They do.
Because he cheated, the whole
Well, in
cheating
general,
situation.
a lot of people hate the Patriots.
A lot of people hate the Patriots.
For a few reasons. Not obviously
Right.
the Tom Brady thing and the
Sure.
cheating and,
Right.
and Coach Belichick and all of that.
Yeah.
But then all of that aside, some people just hate them because Boston fans are annoying.
Oh, well, see.
And I'm saying this
Yeah.
out of respect because I did work my first news job.
Oh.
Market was in Massachusetts.
Okay.
My photogs were dear Patriots fans. In fact, you know how I found out about this Tom Brady thing? I logged into Facebook this morning, and the first thing I see is a post from Luke Charles, who was my photog back in Springfield, and he was just like celebrating this victory. Brady threw something like this, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I looked to the side and saw the trending topic that he was. That it was overturned, and I was like, well, that's going to be talked about today.
Well, I will tell you this
No offense to you
much.
Patriots fans, but, Boston fans in general, regardless of the sport, really intense.
Yeah. Well, and some of the analysts that I had heard had said the following, that they were convinced that Tom Brady, if it were offered to him some sort of a compromise, which that was, my understanding is that was discussed. If he would willingly state that the results of the Wells report were true, that the NFL would lower the suspension and maybe knock it down to 2 games, maybe even 1. But you have to give him credit for, if all of these analysts, who know a lot of people behind the scenes, they said he will never do that because it will destroyed cell phone or not destroyed cell phone. That is a privacy argument that you could make that is like crucial to the American way of life.
Right. People are saying, well, maybe he has a side chick and he doesn't want Giselle to find out.
Who knows what it is? But I mean, are you willing to go give your cell phone right now to, I don't know, the next security guard that comes walking through here?
I mean,
Not
I don't
that you
really
have
have
anything to
anything
hide.
incriminating.
Not that you have anything to hide, but it is just.
I mean, what do you guys want to see? I'll just show you guys what I have on my cell phone. See this picture of a cactus? I took this photo last night.
What?
I took a picture of a cactus last night, and here's another one. This is in Chandler.
Samia,
I went to the casino out there yesterday.
Let me
horse.
congratulate you on your photography.
Wild horse.
Look at that.
Wild pass horse, something like that.
Wild horse pass.
Yeah, so I was there. I'm just saying that there's not a lot of anything suspicious on my phone.
Okay.
So, but this girl takes weird pictures of things.
Adam says, I hate the Patriots, but Steelers fans are more annoying.
Adam saying, no, you would have going to the Supreme Court and an employer's ability to penalize an employee for breaking the employer's rule.
Stop right there. That's a great point, Adam. And this was another point that the judge
Say
raised.
that again. I feel like there is a typo in that, and I did not say that properly. The employer's ability to penalize an employee for breaking the employer's rules, and the Supreme Court overriding that decision, essentially, right?
In other words,
is that what is being said?
Basically that it's more than just a pounds per square inch issue, that it goes down to this. But this is another issue that the judge addressed, which was for him or any court to uphold the NFL when this man's employment and ability to earn money is at stake, and for this judge to then support the NFL side in this whole thing, basically by stating that he agreed with the Wells report that it was more likely than not, remember that was the key phrase, more likely than not that Tom Brady had a, quote, general knowledge of the balls being slightly not inflated. He said, so then what you would have is, at least, actually this wasn't the judge that said it, but he made the analysts were making this point. Therefore, if you had a general knowledge, if you're on an NFL team, and you have a general knowledge that somebody is using steroids or whatever, and you don't come forward about it, you then can be taken to court, can be sued, can be possibly even criminally prosecuted. He said if we're going to go down that road of general, more likely than not had a general knowledge that there might have been something going on fishy.
Yeah.
That's so wide open that would be ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, anyway, let's see.
Charlotte wants to know: will Tom Brady get to play tonight, preseason against the New York Giants?
I would guess so, but since it's Game 4, I would bet he won't, because Game 4s of preseason are almost always everybody else who's trying to get a job. So I think we're more likely to see, although he might just to spite the NFL, he might show up and throw the first series of passes. Because. But I also like what
Les Chow Mein say?
No, go just back up above Hapalia, which would and it is Daniel who said, Ron, I don't think the Supreme Court would hear it. And actually, despite a really good argument here that it's an employer versus employee rights argument, that we're talking about here, I actually think that the fact that it hinges on such a minor point, the PSI of the footballs, frequently the Supreme Court doesn't take up a case. I absolutely agree with exactly what you're saying, that I don't think they would ever hear it.
Les Chow Mein chiming in, Brady won the Super Bowl even when the balls were fully inflated, so it proves he didn't need the balls to be deflated to be a great quarterback.
Yes. And he did so much better in the second half when the balls were more highly inflated. To which I said to somebody today, well, let's go investigate Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, another beloved quarterback in the NFL, has already said he likes the balls to be
overinflated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel Oldfield, but there's no proof. How can an employer hold an employee responsible with no proof? No reasonable judge would or could find the guilt.
Which, Samia, I just felt like from day one when this went into court and it was removed from the NFL's office, and a lot of people think that Roger Goodell is just too full of himself, honestly. That he's kind of arrogant about the way that he deals with things. Now, his side of the argument would be, I had to protect the integrity of the game. If we had even a suspicion that there was cheating going on, we had to investigate it, and that's a pretty good argument. But to have pressed the issue as long and as hard as they did without both sides, I really thought they'd come to some sort of agreement a long time ago. But I also felt like, well, once it gets into court, you really do have to have. It's a completely different standard,
Right.
And they just didn't have it. They didn't have anything close to it, and the judge was not willing to start letting employers, because this is a federal court. The judge is not willing to start through virtue of his ruling or the court that's going to be above it, to say, okay, well, employers can now hold employees responsible if there was some sort of instance of wrongdoing, and everybody who had any general knowledge, more likely than not, could also be held responsible or anything along those. He's not going to go there.
Okay. So whose side are you on?
I think you can tell that I'm
You're
not
on the side of the judge.
Well, I'm on the side of the judge, and I felt like, I don't know. I felt like Brady was going to win, and I felt like it's kind of a tempest in the teapot, to be honest with you. A lot of people are like, what is the big stinking deal? And the fact that it got pressed, and it was the NFL who said, we'll meet you in court. It was the NFL who wanted to do it, and I just felt like that would sort of be their downfall. I think they're so blinded by the power that they do have that they were maybe a little out of touch on how this was going to go.
I see.
So there you are.
John Doe chiming in, you would think that all NFL contracts would have a stipulation that issues like this would be sent to an arbitration or remove the right to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't hear it, as in the Supreme Court shouldn't hear it. It's a waste, John Doe says.
Mm-hmm. And, the other thing is, you know who heard when after Goodell made his initial ruling, 4-game suspension and take away the draft picks, which that issue still has to be resolved, the draft picks. But after he made the original ruling, then Brady appealed to the league offices. And guess who the league offices decided would hear the appeal? Roger Goodell again. Honestly, where's the appearance of fairness in that kind of a situation?
Ale, also known as the Water, wants to know, Ron, are you a Cardinals fan?
Ale.
Huge.
I am a huge Cardinal fan. Let me just tell you, Ale, I woke up this morning with such a spring in my step. Because today, to me, today is the beginning of the football season.
What happens today?
We have major colleges playing big games today, and college football.
Who's playing today?
So, you know, this town is full of Cardinal fans, meaning we are not especially big San Francisco 49er fans. Samia, I know you're a Californian, so.
Well, it's funny because I was just making a note that the Cards are playing the Niners on September 27th.
And I maybe want to go to that one. Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
But
no, I was speaking
I've never
as
been
you.
to Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not because of the California thing, but because it would be a nice
Yeah.
birthday gift for a certain individual.
Okay. Well, there you are. So, since we're full of Cardinal fans and Cardinal fans really don't like the 49ers, seeing Jim Harbaugh leave as coach of the 49ers and watching his sort of odyssey for the last few months, to me has been fascinating. When a pro coach says, I'm leaving the pros and I'm going to go back not just to a college, but to my old school. I love that. I love that he's going back to his old school. People say that Jim Harbaugh, at age 51, is more like he still wants to be a football player than he really wants to be a coach. But this is the closest he can get to the game. And he's so competitive and he's so intense and so in your face that he imposes his will upon his whole team. And so Jim Harbaugh tonight takes for the first time, takes his team out west to play in the Pac-12. So he's coaching Michigan, which is a classic school from the Big Ten. And they're already in Salt Lake City, and they're going to play the University of Utah. They have a fantastic coach, a guy named Kyle Whittingham, who's just tough as nails. You look at him on the sideline, you say, if you were to watch this game, it's on Fox Sports tonight, by the way. 5:30 on Fox Sports 1. And you look at this other coach, and you're like, that guy should still be a linebacker. I mean, he looks more like a football player than a coach, except for a few gray hairs here and there. So it's fantastic that Fox lined up for us. You know, it would be so easy for these schools. It would be so easy for Michigan to play. Who was it they lost to a couple of years ago? Alcorn State or Appalachian State or some little itsy-bitsy school? I know. See you, Kelly, who did Michigan lose to that Appalachian State? You know, it'd be so easy for Utah to schedule Weber State or something. But they're both opening up with really quality opponents, and I can't wait.
I can tell that you're very excited. Maybe I'll see you at a game. I mean, obviously I won't go to a game without telling you. Real quick, going to check in with the viewers, see if they're saying anything else about Deflategate, because we do have some random breaking news that I do need to share with our viewers.
Oh, yes?
Just a second. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Brady probably destroyed the phone because there's evidence in it that he's being unfaithful. Les chiming in saying, for a man this handsome, it's a crime that he doesn't cheat. What? And Arrow saying, if Trump is defending Tom Brady, we already know he's guilty, but if they have no proof, there's nothing they can do about it. That's true. Speaking of the Trump speech that we aired earlier live, Trump did defend Brady. He said he just got off the phone with Tom Brady a little while ago.
Yes, that was classic Trump, wasn't it?
Pretty good. Like, oh, by the way, everyone loves me, including Tom Brady. He also talked about Kanye West because someone asked him about Kanye West running for president. And he was like, oh, yeah, I love Kanye. I love Kanye because Kanye loves me. But I better watch it because he might be running against me in 4 years. Which, speaking of, just really quickly before I transition to this news, this new news. I want to show you this video because I think it's funny.
Okay.
It's in California.
Okay.
It's just so good. Did you see this?
No, that's hilarious.
We're going to...
Here comes everybody.
I'm going to play it once more. Let's just...
This is funny.
This out of California. Kanye 2020.
Yes.
It looks like whoever posted this was very entertained by the notion that Kanye West could possibly run for president. If you missed this, guys, at the MTV Video Music Awards over the weekend, Sunday night, Kanye said that he was running for president in 2020. This sign is up in Los Angeles, apparently. Atop a building in downtown Los Angeles. It appeared this morning. All it says is Kanye 2020. Right now, we don't know who's behind the sign, whether it was put up by someone associated with Kanye or just a fan. But it's pretty entertaining, and there's already Kanye 2020 merchandise available online. And
Well.
yes, Donald Trump has said that he wants to run against Kanye. So there's that.
Yeah, well, if Donald Trump wins the presidency, and by all accounts, most of the polls, there's a decent chance that that will happen. We could be entering a whole new phase
Of celebrity
in America
politicians.
of celebrity politicians. Now, I don't mean Kanye necessarily, although if he wants to go to work on the issues, you know.
Hey, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So there's that.
But anyway.
All right.
I think
that was not the breaking news, by the way, John Doe. I actually have the breaking news up here right now. I'm going to pull up these two images right here. These images were dropped into my folder, courtesy of our executive producer, Melanie.
All right.
Apparently, a Brian Yazzie, a man accused of driving drunk, that guy right here
Yes.
on the right,
Okay.
accused of driving drunk and killing the Chandler police officer we see there, has now pled guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder and 1 count of leaving the scene of a fatal accident. He will be sentenced October 5th, so next month. And just some background info, David Payne is the Chandler officer we see there. He was a motorcycle officer. He was on duty. He had stopped at Chandler Boulevard and Pennington Drive, and that's when he was rear-ended by this drunk driver. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. Brian Yazzie struck him, then continued to drive, but eventually was stopped by police half a mile from the scene.
Yeah.
This Brian Yazzie, 31 years old, had a history of arrests, including a history of drunk driving. And here, even worse, police say his 11-month-old child was in the car at the time of the crash.
Is absolutely
Just crazy. So
So-
the breaking news is that he pled guilty.
I guess you could look at that and you could say, on the one hand, you could say, why even go for second-degree murder? Why not go for a first-degree murder charge?
Right, but first-degree murder implies that it's intentional, right?
Correct. But somehow I think there are aggravating factors that if you purposely, I don't know, I'd have to research if there's been a case of first-degree murder. The argument the prosecutor could make was that if he knew he was going to be driving and he purposely, ahead of time, kept drinking and got himself drunk and then got behind the wheel, he had to full well know that whatever his actions were, if they led to a fatality, that it had the potential. So some people would look at that and say they had him dead to rights. I mean, they had him, they made the arrest, they had the blood alcohol, they had everything. But you do save the taxpayers millions on a trial. And I don't know if that's a calculation that goes into this or not, but I bet you one thing, I bet you the county prosecutor's office talked with the family of the victim. I don't know this at all, but I bet you they did, because it seems like they do that a lot. And if the family did not want to drag this out through a trial for the next, would have been year or 2 years,
Right.
and said, let's just move forward. Just the fact that you can have second-degree murder as well as the other charge, I'm going to say the top end of a sentencing phase for second-degree murder might be, I'm guessing it might be 25 years. It might be more. The judge, I think, will have great latitude to still pretty much send him to prison for the rest of his life. Pretty close to it. You know, because you tack on the other charge, right? Which was the drunk driving part of it.
Right,
Or
the drunk driving and the fleeing of the scene of a fatal accident.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
serious one. And I know That's a huge issue. I don't know how often there are hit and runs here, but I know out in Los Angeles, I noticed there was almost every day there was a report of a hit and run, or there was a body lying in a street that was struck by a car, and they couldn't determine what vehicle had hit it. And I know that the mayor, they were trying to implement some sort of law so that if you did flee the scene of a crime, a hit and run, that you would have, there would be stiff penalties whether it was a fatal accident or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that again, that's assuming they figure out who you are.
Isn't that interesting, Sami? Doesn't that play into what you and I were talking about yesterday? Which is, here's a mayor saying we got to solve this problem, and how do you solve it? Stiffen up those penalties. It's like the thing we talked about yesterday, this epidemic of officers being shot and these killers having no fear of whatever is going to be done to them.
No, it's crazy.
So, anyway. All right, so I had better go.
All right.
I got to get ready for Chris Wallace, who I'll be interviewing Chris tomorrow. I know on his show on Sunday he's going to have some of the top police chiefs in the nation
commenting on the same issue.
Correct. Who will be joining him to talk about this.
Well, it's a major issue.
It is a major issue.
And speaking of, it's convenient that you just transition into that, because I have a full press conference from Fox Lake, Illinois.
Oh, good.
Where police are giving an update in terms of the
Okay.
search for those suspects. So
Good.
that's a really fitting, unintentional transition, Ron. I appreciate you. So kind.
Whatever I can do to help you here
You're
on
so
Newsday.
considerate. So I'm going to pull this press conference up, and we'll be able to listen in. I know I showed viewers like a minute or two of it while I was going on live, but now we have the full thing recorded for our viewers to get the full update on this investigation. It's still terrible. They still haven't found those three individuals
I have
wanted.
to say that with no real descriptions other than 2 white males and 1 black male,
That's so vague.
they'll solve this case. But it feels to me like something that could take weeks, if not
months, years?
No, I wouldn't say years, but it could take weeks.
All right.
Or possibly months.
Yeah.
Here we
All
go.
right, guys. Well, let's listen in on what police had to say just about an hour ago.
Complainants that she had fabricated the entire account, and she said she was doing this for attention. She was subsequently arrested and charged with 2 counts of disorderly conduct, falsifying a police report. One of those counts is a felony, a class 4 felony. One of those counts is a misdemeanor. Last night, over 22 police agencies responded to assist in this search. Obviously, within the close proximity of our scene here in Fox Lake, we took it very seriously, although we had no evidence to support that incident was connected with this incident at the time. What I'd like to say to Fox Lake residents here and area Fox Lake residents is I think through our response, it really shows that we are here and we are active in this community, and we are active to keep the area residents here in Fox Lake safe. We want everybody to feel safe. The police, extremely high presence that are able to respond to these situations very fast. Obviously, things will never be quite normal here in Fox Lake with the death of Lieutenant Glenowitz, but we are working very hard with the community to return things as close to normal as quick as possible and keep everybody safe. I'm going to turn the microphone over at this time to Chief Falenko.
1 gigabit per second.
Good afternoon. We are still continuing the investigation. I believe we're making some progress, some significant progress today. We're expecting some results either later this evening or sometime early tomorrow from our crime lab with regards to the crime scene. We again have over 100 investigators out in the field. We have retrieved as late as last night what we believe to be some significant video. That's been turned over to the Department of Homeland Security for processing, and I'm expecting some results from that video as late as this evening. So again, I'm going to open this up for questions, and again, I'll caveat this by saying that I am going to be limited in my responses because of the ongoing investigation.
Chief, was the video from a dash cam or from a deer cam?
Can you say why you sent the video to Homeland Security? And then just going back a couple days once again, why was it that all of the police resources just essentially disappeared after the first day? I know you talked about a saturation search, but why, if there was a police officer killed, why did they all of a sudden disappear?
I'll leave that question to Detective Cavelli because the Sheriff's Office did spearhead that manhunt. In answer to the question regarding the video, you had a question about that, sir?
Yeah, was it a deer cam or a dash cam from a trucker?
Okay, your question is whether it was a deer cam or a dash cam. It was neither. It was actually a video that was turned into us last night from a private residence.
What sort of evidence did you turn over from the crime scene that was collected?
I'm not at liberty to say exactly what that evidence is, but we're hoping to recover some significant evidence from what we did turn over to them. And I know I'm being vague, but I can't reveal that because of the ongoing investigation.
Anything more about the description of the men?
No, that's all we have so far, and unfortunately, like Detective Cavelli said last night, was an unfortunate incident. It tied up a number of resources, including my detectives, who were called in and put on standby. They could have been out there in the field following up on leads. Instead, we were waiting for what we thought to be something significant, and unfortunately it turned into nothing.
You have the autopsy results now. How many times was the lieutenant?
I'm not at liberty to reveal that. Again, that's part of the criminal investigation.
Can you discuss the weapon that was used?
Again, I know you have to ask these questions. Can't answer that one.
Why don't you give the video to Homeland Security?
Homeland Security has got advanced equipment. This video in particular is on a particular type of hard drive that they have the technology to retrieve it off of.
How close to the crime scene is this house? How do you think it happened?
It's within the area.
Can you talk about just the physical and mental toll right now and all the investigators who are obviously working on this case for so long that was so close to the
Every day we come in, we have a 10 o'clock briefing. The investigators are re-energized. They keep going nonstop. One of my tasks is to make sure that they're not overly fatigued, that we're operating at optimum efficiency. These guys have just been fantastic. They've been putting in a lot of hours. I think the most difficulty I've had with them is telling them to go home. They want to be here. They want to be here 24 hours a day until this is resolved.
Commander, where was the lieutenant's gun recovered?
Again, not at liberty to tell you
I know
that.
that we believe that the suspects are armed. Are they armed with their own weapon or the opposite weapon?
Again, that's a catch-22 question, so I can't answer that.
At the time of the shooting, it's been reported that his gun, his radio, and his pepper spray were all taken. Is that correct?
That was not reported by us. Wherever you garnish that report, I'd verify that with that source.
So has the lieutenant's gun been recovered?
Yes.
Was it the one that was used in the shooting?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Where was recovered at the scene?
Again, I'm not at liberty to say.
Was there any fingerprints on that gun?
Again, as I told you, we're waiting for results from the crime lab.
I'm sorry. Are we able to tell whether or not his gun was used in the shooting?
Again, I'm not at liberty to speak about that. That is relevant information in our criminal investigation.
Are you still considering the suspects armed?
I would consider anybody who murdered a police officer as being extremely dangerous.
Any indication about that area still? Did you suspect they're in the area or they're outside?
We haven't gone away from that theory. However, anything's possible. Obviously, we have a lot of transportation means in this area, trains, cars, buses. We're still working off the fact that we're presuming that there is a good probability that they are still somewhere in the area. Now, whether they're in Fox Lake or any of the surrounding border communities, that remains to be seen.
Talking about that video, can you maybe just give us a brief description? I mean, obviously it came from a private person, but you figured that the public something. Can you tell us anything about what that video shows at all, or any kind of...
Well, as I pointed out, we've turned it over to the lab for them to retrieve it off of the hard drive, so we haven't actually had a chance to review it. We're just going by what the individual is telling us about the video, but until we actually see it and see if it's of relevance and the quality of the video, I'm not at liberty to answer that question.
Has that person told you consistent with that you're still looking for 3 suspects?
Yes.
Were there any footprints from the scene that could give you a direction of which way they traveled?
Again, that's evidence that I can't talk about.
So just to clarify, the person you got the video from saw 3 people, and so you took the video from their home, correct?
Correct.
Commander, you mentioned
Was the
that the
gun
lieutenant's
found
gun.
at the scene, and had it been fired?
Not at liberty to tell you that.
And finally, what's the status of the autopsy report? You had said yesterday 1 to 2 days.
Well, the autopsy report actually That's a question that I would defer over to the coroner's office. They do have to run a number of tests that include toxicology. So the coroner does have a process that they have a review panel. That's not going to be complete for some time. We get preliminary results, and again, I'm not going to reveal those because those are extremely relevant to this case.
Has the ballistics been conducted on the lieutenant's gun that was recovered?
That all the evidence that's been collected has been turned over to the crime lab. Again, everything that's been collected has been turned over to the crime lab, and we all know what the crime lab does.
Was the video taken from somebody who took the video with like surveillance camera?
It's a home video. No, it's a home video security system. You know, it's pretty commonplace, and that's one of the things we've been pointing out in asking the community if they do have home video surveillance systems. Some of those are very sophisticated. They're high-definition systems. And at times, in some of the investigations that I've been involved in, we've actually gotten better video from private entities as opposed to businesses.
So did the homeowner say that he saw people in this video, or a vehicle, or both?
Individuals.
He's just talking about a description now.
Until we review it, we're not going to confirm whether these are the same people that we're talking about. We need to look at it. Again, we have very preliminary information. The homeowner felt it relevant enough to turn this over to us. We tried to view it last night. Unfortunately, we don't have the advanced equipment here, so that's been turned over to the Homeland Security Lab, and we're hoping to get some results sometime today.
But has he told you what he saw, what these three?
He's described some things to us, but again, until I actually see that and confirm it, I'm not going to repeat what he's told us.
How close to the scene was
the search is like today, where you're searching?
Well, you're referring to as a search. I'll caveat, and again, search/canvas. So we're going back into the neighborhoods and covering every possible home that either aligns that area or even goes in either direction, and talking to anybody who lives in those homes. We do preliminary canvases of these homes, then we do secondary, and then sometimes we'll go back a third time, because as we realize this happened at a certain time of the day, there may have been individuals present during that time of the day that weren't there when we knocked on that door a couple of hours later. May have gone to work, may have gone out shopping, so we'll try to go back to the homes where we've made no contact.
You say that the gun has been recovered. Was it recovered at the scene?
The gun's been recovered.
Was it recovered next to?
The gun's been recovered. That's all I'm at liberty to say.
What about this other equipment that's been speculated upon?
Everything at the scene has been recovered and turned over to the crime lab.
Notice having the pepper spray and anything else from his duty belt has been recovered?
Everything that has been commented on, that was found at the scene, was gathered by our evidence technicians and turned over to the crime lab and is being processed.
Well, is there anything missing that he would have been carrying?
As far as equipment goes,
yes.
Not to my knowledge.
How far would this home with the video have been from?
It's within the area. I'd just like to keep it that way for now.
Has there been a history of complaints in that specific area? It's kind of remote way back there, and from what I understand, it's been like numerous.
Yeah, we've checked on previous incidents. Obviously, it's part of our process is to see if there's anything that's occurred in an area. Yes, it's an open area. There have been a number of complaints, anything from vandalism to what they refer to here as squatters, people living in some of the structures that are out there. So yes, there have been some complaints, and there's been some vandalism to some of the village-owned property out there. I believe there's a public works facility right there.
Where is this being sent, this video, to be processed? Is that going to Washington?
Nope. It goes to the lab, and I believe their lab is out of Oak Brook Terrace.
Have there been previous arrests in that particular area?
That I couldn't tell you.
What are the arrests? You know?
Don't know.
Commander, is there anything different? I know you mentioned the video, and I know you mentioned the crime lab info. What else is different today about what you're doing than past days? If anything, nothing that's not enough, but if there's anything else.
Could you repeat the question again? You asked about 3 questions at the same time, so go ahead.
Can you tell us what you're doing differently today versus past days?
We're not doing anything differently. We're just moving forward. We are getting, again, an influx of significant leads We actually have one detective. Now I've assigned a second detective to just filter through emails that we're receiving from all around the county of suspicious activity and people saying that I believe this individual or this incident may be relevant to what you're looking at. So we're trying to filter through all that now.
You mentioned that the cement plant was the scene of complaints about squatters, etc. Was that the reason why Lieutenant Glenowitz went there that morning?
We don't have an exact reason yet, but from what I gather from speaking to his coworkers, Lieutenant Glenowitz was an extremely diligent police officer, and I would expect that would be part of his routine, that if they've identified a problem area within anywhere in this community, it seems that he would be going periodically to check to see if there's any kind of reoccurring issues.
And was this a problem area?
Shift start at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m.?
I'm not certain. I believe 8 a.m., but I don't know their exact shifts there.
I do not know.
Any news on funeral arrangements?
The funeral, I believe, and this is all tentative right now, they're making the arrangements as we speak. I've been told is going to take place on Monday.
Can't hear you.
I've been told that the funeral is going to take place on Monday, but I don't have any other information. One of the sergeants is in charge of making all the arrangements, and she's going to be contacting me within a couple of hours to notify at least my crew so we could be there.
Will there be any tests done to find out as to whether Lieutenant Glenowitz fired his own gun in this incident at all?
We're very thorough. We're thorough. I'll leave it at that.
You mentioned you're waiting for some results later today. Will you have another update once you get those results?
It depends on what those results are and if I can reveal them. We may have another update on another angle we're pursuing. If we do today, we will call another press conference. Detective Cavelli and I will be talking about that. We have another strategy in mind that we probably will release to the public either today or tomorrow.
What's that strategy?
We'll release that today or tomorrow.
And to answer the question about it appearing that law enforcement up and left after the search, that by no means is the case. The day of the search was in a very specific zone. So you saw perimeter units, you saw helicopters, you saw hundreds of law enforcement officers canvassing that area and searching that area. Just because we don't see them in a specific area doesn't mean that they're not involved. We have a huge number of police officers in this area, both from the Lake County Sheriff's Office, the Illinois State Police, as well as numerous law enforcement agencies across the area. And I think last night really shows how fast we're going to react to situations and how many of us are in the town. So, like I had said, we are here to keep this community safe, and that's what we're doing. Thank you all very much. We will, if we hold a press conference later today, we will get that update at least an hour. Complainants that she...
All right, guys, that is a wrap on that press conference. Now we're going to take you live to this protest. It's sort of a hearing. I know I was told it was a protest, but it's in response to, I believe, a power plant. Let me get you the right information before I just confuse you all. This is a recycling plant protest. 150 Deer Valley residents and businesses have filed petitions this past Monday opposing Green Earth Recycling Facility. And now this is the discussion and hearing
just to
regarding
address
that.
fellow board members, we're basically right now looking at a situation where information has changed, and this would remand it back to the hearing officer to make a decision for or against based on the accurate information. I don't see it as a hardship in timing, because there are cases going before hearing officers week by week. I would like to keep the discussion on that and not get into the case at this point in time, because right now we're deciding to remand that back. Does anyone have any pressing thoughts? I'm prepared to make a motion, but if I don't want to step over anyone if anyone has any pressing thoughts on that, or if you want to get into extensive testimony on remanding it back to a hearing officer.
I do have a question,
Mr.
Madam
Boehner,
Chair.
yes.
I'd like to direct to Mr. Lee.
Please.
Mr. Lee, could you confirm what Mr. Morris just stated regarding having it be the exact same situation?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Gaynor, I think you heard from Mr. DiPiero that basically it's on a weekly basis. So I think Ms. Morris's statement. Well, let me take back. I'm not. Can you clarify which point you want me to confirm? I
just want a little advice from you regarding the way Mr. Morris explained it was that it's the exact same case, exact same details. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Shapiro.
Yeah, I was going to refer that to Mr. DiPiero.
And let's go back to Mr. Shapiro. I heard it twice then, and it's really resonated. So Mr. Shapiro mentioned that. Could you confirm that, please?
Yeah. Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Gaynor, Mr. Morris is correct. It appears that the measurement that was used when it was filed was measuring the proposed height from finished floor, which is actually the construction of the building floor. The zoning ordinance requires that building height be measured from finished grade, which is the pad of the land graded outside the building. So when you measure that from that point slightly lower, the number that they're requesting, 35 feet, needs to be slightly higher than what they originally requested. But the building design has not changed. It's the point at which we measure it from, and what he stated is correct. We just have to measure it from the right point, and therefore the request has to be modified. But nothing else has changed.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. I have no more further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor. Thank you, Mr. DiPiero. And I would just like to say, as we move on to other questions, we have Ms. Adams and Ms. Hunter. It sounds like we have one side asking for it to be remanded back to the hearing officer, and we have another side saying that they need more time than 1 month. So if the decision is remand it back or hear it today, remanding it back somewhat satisfies both sides in my mind. And that's why my motion will be to do just that. Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, that's one of the points I wanted to clarify with Mr. Is it Keaton?
That's Mr. Kiden, but that's all right.
Kiden, my
Thank
apologies. You. Mr. Kiden, is it your position that you agreed to remand this matter back to the zoning hearing officer in lieu of hearing it today?
I have no problem with doing that. It's a waste of time in the sense, though. But in the statement that the attorney made, or Mr. Morris made, it's a slight difference. It's doubling the amount of the variance to the height. They're allowed to go 30 feet. They're asking for 35. Now they're changing it. They want to go to 39. And they're going to, and why this is relevant is not just the engineering. They want to put a basketball court in there. And we have put together technical information saying they only have to go to 27 feet for a basketball court. This is the NCAA requirements. And they say, well, but we got to put lighting in. I say, well, they say that NCAA says that includes lighting. And now they want to go even higher.
Okay,
so we
thank you,
got to go
Mr.
back to
Kiden.
the
Thank you, Mr.
NCAA.
Kiden. Ms. Adams, do you feel like your specific question was addressed? I want to be really careful we're not getting into the specifics of the case. We're not hearing this case yet.
Right, I understand. And I understand that goes to the merits of the case. And I did read about the NCAA requirements, so I appreciate that, sir. And I think you have answered my question. I guess my other question to staff is, I guess, as it relates to the height. Is this an issue of mutual mistake, or is this an issue of absolutely changed facts, right? I mean, the facts are vehemently disputed, right? We have in the content, in the materials that are submitted, folks are saying 50, 55 is the actual true height. I understand the point of measurement, and so the question is the burden is on who to do the measurement. Is it the city's error, or is it mutual mistake between the two parties?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Ms. Adams, it's my understanding simply that the request came in for 35 feet. We don't necessarily, the request came in to say we would like to exceed the 30 foot and requesting 35. Beyond that, there is this cursory exam when it first comes in, but I don't believe there's any mistake of any sort. They just requested 35, which is perfectly fine. We just realized looking at later construction drawings that actually the way it would be measured is higher than 35, and the variance is currently filed would not be sufficient to give permission for that. So that would, I hope, answer your question.
So the request came in for 35, it was denied. right?
At zoning adjustment hearing officer, yes.
And so now we're being asked to remand it back to the zoning hearing officer for them to ask for an even greater height.
Ms. Adams, yes, that is correct. The applicant would be able to file a new variance as well if it were heard today, because it would be a different request for a different number.
Which is a different case.
That is correct.
Thank you.
This is a serious issue, Madam Chairperson.
Well, they're all serious, Mr. Kine.
Well,
That's why we're here.
this is a
Thank
double-
you. Excuse me. Ms. Hunter.
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a motion.
Please continue.
Madam Chair, in matter ZA 235158, I would move that this matter be remanded back to the zoning hearing officer for further consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gaynor?
Aye.
Miss Adams?
No.
Miss Ryan?
Aye.
Miss Hunter?
Aye.
Mr. Jeffries?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. It looks like you'll have another hearing, and we'll see where it goes from there. We may or may not see you.
Madam Chair, what about this October 1st date that was presented?
Mr. Kiden, we will have you follow up directly with staff. The motion was for October 1st. I believe it's I'm sorry.
No, that
No
wasn't.
date, no date.
That wasn't part of the motion.
Okay, staff will set the date then. I don't have that information with me now, but Mr. DePero, you can contact him directly, and he'll let you know with enough time to prepare when that date is.
Mr. DePero, will you be in direct communication with me as well as with opposing counsel?
Mr. Kiden, we can let you know of that date, either myself or our zoning administrator, Ms. Gomes, who's sitting over here behind me.
Thank you.
Thank you to staff. Let's please make sure that happens so Mr. Kiden knows what he's working with. Okay, moving along, we are now on what is numbered item number 2 on our original agenda, which is the matter of ZA-192-15-1. And we'll begin with Mr. DePero. Do you have?
Started to call. Madam Chair, members of the board, this case is a use permit to allow for temporary use for 3 years. A use permit is required. The case is a request to overturn the zoning adjustment hearing officer's denial of a use permit for temporary use. The proposed temporary use is a recycling facility, more specifically a mulching facility. The temporary use permit was requested in response to an issuance of a notice of violation under case PEF 2015-13485 for having a chain link fence, non-compliance with A1 zoning standards and site standards, and non-dust-proof parking. At this time, staff recommends the board continue this item to the next agenda. One of the criteria for granting a use permit for a temporary use is that it must be accessory to a primary use on the lot, unless the Planning and Development Director grants a waiver to this requirement. There is no other use on this lot, primary or otherwise, and no documentation of a waiver has been submitted at this time. However, the applicant was only advised of this requirement recently by staff after the zoning adjustment hearing. A continuance is recommended so that the applicant may have some time to address this ordinance requirement.
Thank you, Mr. DePero. So before we move on, I have a quick question for you. We don't know if a waiver will or will not be granted, so we shouldn't assume that. It would just allow time for that. But without the waiver, this particular case, we're sort of hearing a case that isn't valid because there is no waiver, and that's something that must exist for this to proceed. So had there been a denial of a waiver, it might not even be here. Had a waiver been issued, we may be able to hear it today on its entirety, but it has not been to date.
Madam Chair, that is correct. Staff would have advised prior to the hearing to have that in place prior to filing. It's a bit of a disjointed section of the ordinance where it's in a funny section, several pages in the ordinance prior. The applicant had not been advised of this requirement, and the filing went ahead, and the zoning adjustment hearing was heard without meeting that specific requirement. It's a fairly, if you don't mind using the term, black and white requirement. Either you have it or not. It's not very subjective. So staff looking at this, since they were not advised of this until literally a couple days ago, staff would like the applicant to have the opportunity to pursue a remedy prior to the board hearing this, although it is the board's ultimate decision whether or not to hear it.
And Mr. DePero, just to make sure I'm clear on the technicalities of this, because as we mentioned with the previous case, all of these are important to everyone that's here in the room. That waiver would have to be in place. I don't know what we would do with the case. We haven't heard it yet. But in order for us to do anything other than uphold the hearing officer's decision, the waiver would have to be in place to give us a full
Madam
range
Chair,
of decisions.
that is staff's opinion, yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Is there anyone in the audience who would be opposed to continuing this case? Okay, I would like the record to reflect there are. So I would like anyone that would like to speak on this case to whether or not it should be continued to please stand and raise your right hand at this time. Do you solemnly swear or otherwise affirm the testimony you're about to provide? Oh, we got some latecomers. Everyone, okay. Do you all solemnly swear or otherwise affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. I want to turn to my board members now. Would you like to take testimony on continuing this case? Based on what staff has said, we really can only make technically one decision, and that would be to uphold the hearing officer's decision without this waiver in place. The waiver may not be granted, the waiver may be denied. But without the waiver, the only decision we can make today is to uphold it. I feel like that's very limiting to us, and based on that technicality and staff's recommendation that we should continue it so that we have a full range of decision-making authority here. Ms. Hunter.
Madam Chair, I agree with that concern. The only other question I had was to staff regarding this facility continues to operate while everybody figures out what needs to happen next. Now, I'm not foreshadowing which way I'm going to lean on this particular case, given the facts presented so far, but I guess that would be the fundamental question, is whether or not the facility will continue to operate while everybody figures out what happens with this waiver.
Madam Chair, Ms. Hunter, it is fairly standard procedure that when something has been enforced, when the applicant has filed to potentially legalize something that's going on, that we suspend enforcement. So it would be likely that any operations would not be enforced in terms of a suspension by the city during that time.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but I'm ready for a motion.
Ms. Adams.
Yeah, my question is for Mr. Lee. From a legal perspective, do you agree with staff's statement?
Madam Chair, Ms. Adams, I agree with Mr. DePero's statement, and I think the basis is that if you look at the condition for granting a use permit, in addition to the normal not causing any significant impact to the neighborhood, it also requires that the use permit be in compliance with all provisions of this ordinance, meaning the zoning ordinance and the laws of City of Phoenix. In this case, I believe the board cannot grant a use permit because there is an underlying violation that they need to cure first, meaning they need to get the waiver from the director first. So I agree with staff's interpretation.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, to that point, if they're still supposed to comply with all the requirements, yet the city is suspending enforcement, how does that work?
Madam Chair, Ms. Hunter, if I just to make sure I understand your question is that there is a non-compliance by the property owner why is it that the city is not is allowing or suspending its enforcement? Is that a good characterization of your question? So,
I understood that when I said, can the facility continue to operate?
Yeah.
Yes, but the city is suspending any enforcement of its ordinances in reference to that operation. And then I understood you to say that while the facility is operating, it is still required to comply with the city ordinances. Just in case something doesn't comply with the city ordinance, how would the city go about taking appropriate action to stop that non-complying activity?
Madam Chairman, Ms. Hunter, I think once there is a determination, once the property owner exhausts its administrative process, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, the director denies the waiver, at that point, short of a lawsuit or injunction, at that point, the city will come in and say, you have to stop violating it because you're in violation of zoning code, and there's not an administrative appeal process for you to go through. So at that point, I don't want to speak for our enforcement staff, but it's not unusual for them to step up in enforcement, issue notice violation, and go forth and go through the judicial process to enforce the city code.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Jeffries.
Mr. DePiero, this case, it seems like, I think we've heard this one before. Did we grant a use permit on this before, years ago? Or did they just start this up?
Madam Chair, Mr. Jeffries, it's possible you're thinking of a similar case by the applicant, but I do not believe it is the same site.
Okay, more importantly, the necessary waiver, the primary use versus the secondary use on the property, did something change on the primary use, or was this just discovered recently that, oh, by the way, this primary use didn't exist and we missed this and now we need to go back and figure it out? Is that?
Madam Chair, Mr. Jeffries, that is unfortunately the case. This is something that we're not advised by staff.
Got it, thank you.
Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so staff, my follow-up question, and either one, whoever, you guys can decide who's best to answer the question is, but for the purposes of this appeal, right, the business is able to continue its operations because the appeal is pending. Is that right? I mean, it's the grace that is given entirely on the fact that they have a meeting here today with us to make that determination. Is that right?
Madam Chair, Ms. Adams, yes, that is correct.
And so what happens if a continuance is granted, then that duration of time is further extended and they're allowed, based upon this contingent future board meeting, to continue their operations in violation?
Madam Chair, Ms. Adams, that is correct. Staff's opinion was that because there was some culpability on staff for not advising sooner, there is a chance that this use could be legalized, which is when we typically suspend enforcement. Therefore, during the process of being able to do this, they have the benefit of the doubt to keep operating. Since they have not had the opportunity and not been advised until very recently to comply with this requirement, that is why staff is recommending the continuance. And yes, enforcement would not be carried out during that time. That does not mean they're currently in compliance, but we would not enforce non-compliance until such time that it was finally heard by the board.
Even when the operations are such as a mulch facility?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, I suppose we can continue and hear this case today, knowing that without the waiver in place, the only decision we can make is to uphold the hearing officer. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think that has all options on the table for us as a board.
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Mr. Jeffries.
Madam Chair, I motion we hear no further testimony on this case and that we continue it.
Second.
Before the vote,
sir.
I represent the opposition. I have some comments.
Sir, I appreciate that. We have a motion. It's been seconded. It's on the table. Is there any discussion for the board members, among the board members?
I would certainly like to hear from the parties. I know the motion is that we don't, so maybe that's not possible, but
So you'll be voting no on the motion?
I'll be voting no.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
A roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gaynor?
Aye.
Miss Adams?
No.
Miss Ryan?
Aye.
Miss Hunter?
Aye.
Mr. Jeffries?
Aye.
Okay, the case has been,
Madam Chair, before you
Yes,
announce
Mr.
this, I just want to make sure, the motions continue to next month, or is it for a different date? I just want to make sure that's clear.
I was just going to clarify that myself for the October 1st, 2015 meeting. So let's make sure, staff, that we have everything in order and that waivers are approved or denied, and that the next time all these people take time out of their day to come down here, we are able to make a decision with our full scope of options. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on our agenda. I believe we are now on item number 5. I'll give people time to exit the room.
Madam Chair, what about item number 3?
That was the height one.
So that was 150 Deer Valley residents and businesses filing a petition on Monday opposing this Green Earth recycling facility. And that's what we were just watching here. We've lost audio. They determined that they were going to really delve into this at a later date, but they are not going to finish that conversation today. What I have next for you is a few minutes of Scott Walker in Texas. Let's see if I can find that video. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go.
Some analysts are saying Donald Trump is wreaking havoc on your campaign. Your poll numbers are sagging. How are you going to change that?
Well, 8 years ago and 4 years ago, the guy that was ahead in the polls at this point was not the nominee. So I'm in, I used to run track, and to me the only time that was important when you were ahead was when you crossed the finish line. I plan on being ahead when we cross the finish line in 2016.
Governor Walker, there are a lot of candidates, as many as 5 people who call Texas home.
Yeah.
I'm curious, shouldn't voters kind of go with someone they know personally, maybe have experience electing over someone who's not from Texas?
I know a lot of the folks that are claim a connection to this great state are friends of mine. I just want to point out that in Texas, it's a red state. People like red state governance. The difference is I govern like a red state governor, and I live in a blue state. And if you want someone who can take on the mess in Washington, which is in many ways like what I inherited in Wisconsin, you need a governor who's actually been tested under the most difficult of circumstances. If you really want to wreak havoc, Washington is not the same as some other places across the country. You need to have someone who's actually been tested in taking things on. We saw the mistake that was made back in 2008 when America elected someone who had never run anything before, who'd never been in charge of anything in government before. That was a huge mistake for America, for the economy, for the country and our standing in the world. I have actually not just run something, I've done it under the most difficult circumstances of any of the candidates out there. And I think voters here in Texas should say, a lot of good people, many of whom are friends of mine, but none of them have been tested the way we've been tested. We will not back down. We will not be intimidated. We will indeed wreak havoc on the special interest in Washington and put the people of this country back in charge again.
Time for one more, guys.
Governor, to be clear, the northern border wall with Canada, is that something you're going to look into as president?
No, that's a good example where people in the media don't actually watch what people say. They watch what other people in the media say. It's a good example. On Sunday, I was asked about that issue and literally said I got one of my campaign events, someone came up to me, and I believe it was a guy who had been retired in law enforcement, and raised a concern about staffing levels of the federal government in terms of interacting with counties along the northern border, and asked us to look into that. I said that's a legitimate issue. I've never said anything about building a northern border. What we do need in America, and I've been with Governor Abbott on the border here, on the Texas border, along the United States border with Mexico, and I've seen firsthand with Governor Abbott, with Texas Public Safety, with local law enforcement as well, that we have a southern border that every single day is being penetrated by international criminal organizations that are trafficking drugs, weapons, and human trafficking. That is not fair to the people of Texas to have to deal with the public safety issues. That's not fair to Americans who have to deal with the national security issues. And that certainly poses a question about the sovereignty of this nation. If we can't do what's required to secure the border, then it really does raise a question about our sovereignty. I have repeatedly said throughout this campaign and throughout this year that the federal government needs to once and for all secure the border, the southern border that's being attacked by international criminal organizations, and that's something I'm going to continue to focus in on. To me, it's secure the border, enforce the laws, no amnesty in going forward, have a legal immigration system that gives priority to American working families and their wages in a way that will improve the American economy. I'm the only one out there talking about that.
What about building a wall?
To me, I think it's a combination of the infrastructure, which means putting up the wall and fencing that Congress has talked about for many years, along with the personnel and the technology. Being with Governor Abbott, he made it clear to me that it's not just about the infrastructure. You've got to have the personnel and technology. When I was in Israel early this year, they're in the process of putting up almost a 500-mile fence to deal with some of the issues they have in that country, to deal with terrorism and other activities. If they can do that in a country as small as Israel, there's no reason why America, the great country that we are, can't do something like that. It's infrastructure, technology, and personnel. It's the federal government working together with state and local authorities in a way that, the good people who are working there are trying to do. They don't have enough support from Washington. When I'm president, people here in Texas, in Arizona, in New Mexico, and California, they're going to have the support they need to be safe and secure along the border.
Great. Thank you, Governor. Great speech. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Good to see you too.
Up next, I have Jeb Bush in New Hampshire.
Hey, Matt, what are we doing this week?
Which one? That would be so bad.
He said he's going to Harrison County tomorrow. Old Harrison County.
Career education is beneath them, that it's somehow not relevant. Well, it's pretty relevant if you get a 4-year degree and you're a psych major. The chances of working in the field of psychology is kind of remote. You'll probably have to go get a postgraduate degree or working outside your field. That's fine. But if you get a career-oriented AS degree at a community college or a certificate degree through your technical school or community college, you can immediately come work here. And you could make, wages that would give you a chance to be able to be successful moving up. And I think culturally there's a problem in America that somehow that's not as important as being unemployed in a white-collar job. There's a lot of opportunities here. If you consider this potential on the energy side and our fixing our tax code and our regulatory system, we're going to see a renaissance in manufacturing. Then the question is, do we have the skilled workers to be able to fill those jobs? And I think that's where society and where government needs to play a constructive role. AJ, thanks for inviting me. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, I do have, I was not here yet when you watched Donald Trump speaking about him signing his pledge to the GOP party. However, I did overhear it on the television, and I heard him give a shout out to Kanye West. So I would like to revisit this with you. Would you mind doing that with me? And his friend Tom Brady. He loves Tom Brady. He will tell you Tom Brady is a winner. So let's watch this, a few minutes of this together, because this did, from what I overheard, this gave me the giggles in regards to Kanye West. Have you said hi in a while on air? Have you said hi on air in a while? Do you want to pop in and say hi for 2 seconds? Yeah, I'm just making my lower third, and I'm making them watch me make my lower third.
Hey, see you. Have a good one. Good to see you.
Bye, Hooner.
Oh, yeah.
Mike's gonna come say hi to you. Give me 2 seconds. Changing my lower third. That looks about right. He'll pop in later. I'm gonna go ahead and play Donald for you.
And as you know, that's what I've wanted. I've wanted fairness. I don't have to be treated any differently than anybody else. I just wanted fairness from the Republican Party. We're leading in every single poll. A new poll came out today where we're over 30%. We've actually hit numbers as high as 35 and 40%. And frankly, I felt that the absolute best way to win and to beat the Democrats, and very easily, I think, beat the Democrats, no matter who it may be, whether it's Hillary or anybody else. And I think maybe Hillary's going to have a very hard time, frankly, with what's happening, getting to the starting gate. The best way for the Republicans to win is if I win the nomination and go directly against whoever they happen to put up. And for that reason, I have signed the pledge.
Yeah.
So I will be totally pledging my allegiance to the Republican Party and the conservative principles for which it stands, and we will go out and we will fight hard, and we will win. We will win. And most importantly, we will make our country great again, because that's what it's all about. We have to make our country great again. With that, are there any questions? Yes.
Brag in the past about how when it suits you, that you bend people on, joke to the audience in Alabama about taking lobbyist money and throwing them over afterwards. Why would anyone think this pledge means anything?
This is a self-funded campaign. We have our heart in it. We have our soul in it. I don't need money. I don't want money. And this is going to be a campaign like I think no other. I'm not controlled by lobbyists. I'm not controlled by anybody. I'm controlled by the people of the country in order to make our country great again. Yes, sir.
What did you get? Because you're a great negotiator. You talk about it all the time. You say you got fairness, but the process really hasn't been begun.
Yeah, I got nothing. All I have, I really got nothing. What the question was, what did I get for signing the pledge? Absolutely nothing, other than the assurance that I would be treated fairly. And I've seen that over the last 2 months, but they really have been very fair.
Is there a right to change your mind?
No, I have no intention of changing my mind.
What changed over the past several weeks?
Well, I think the big thing, Dana, that's changed is, and it's been obvious to all, number one, after I announced, we went up like a rocket ship. Nobody thought I was going to run, and they said, oh, he won't run, and he won't put in his papers, and he won't do all of this. I did that. The papers in terms of the company turned out to be spectacular. It's a great company. I built a great company. And all of the other papers have turned out to be very well received. And I think the thing that changed is the fact that I went to number one place very quickly after I signed and after I, in this building, notified everybody that I'd be running for president. So I think the biggest thing is that I went early to number one, and the RNC has treated me with great respect. So that was very important. Yes. No, I see no circumstances under which I would tear up that pledge.
Governor Christie today said that you are self-consumed and that he didn't need Ryan Freeman to come and meet with him to beg him to sign the pledge.
Well, you don't have to be met when you're at 2%. It's one of those things. That's the way life works. And I like Governor Christie, by the way. Well, the chairman asked if he could come up. You saw him. He was here a little while ago. And I was greatly honored that he did come up, frankly.
Can you clarify your comments, what you said about Jeb Bush for that he wasn't setting an example by speaking Spanish to the crowd? Can you clarify what you said there?
Well, I think that when you get right down to it, we're a nation that speaks English. And I think while we're in this nation, we should be speaking English. And that's how assimilation takes. And that's how, I mean, whether people like it or not, that's how we assimilate. And that's how we go on to that next phase and that next stage. And that's how people that don't speak English, and I'm not just talking about Spanish, I'm talking about from various parts of the world, that's how they will become successful and do great. So I think it's more appropriate to be speaking English. Yes. Well, one of the things I want to do, and I feel very strongly, it's a country based on borders, and our country is based on laws. And when people come into the country illegally, we should not allow that. And this is not from South America, this is not from Mexico, this is from all over the world. When people come illegally, we cannot allow that. And I want people to come legally. I want very much to take care of our border, because our southern border is a total mess. That's been proven. And interestingly, a couple of months ago when I announced, I made some very strong statements about the crime and the problems that were happening, and I've been proven right. And many of the people in this audience actually have apologized to me, which I very much appreciate. Of course, they haven't done it publicly, but these are minor details. Someday they will. The fact is that we are a nation that wants and needs borders. We're a nation that wants and needs and is based on laws. And we will make sure that that takes place. With that being said, I want people to come into our country legally. I want to have a big, fat, beautiful, open door. I want people of great talent to come in for Silicon Valley. I want engineers. I want physicists. I want people with great talent to come into the United States. When people graduate from college, you can be number one in your class at Harvard, or number one at Yale, or the Wharton School of Finance, or Princeton, or Stanford. And immediately, if you're not a citizen of the United States, you get thrown out of the country. We want those people to stay. We want people of great talent to be in the United States, to work here, and ultimately to become a citizen. I don't know enough about it to comment on it. Was she jailed? I really don't know much about it. No. Yes, go ahead. That's absolutely false. I win at golf. I win at golf. That I can tell you. Yes. Well, I understand how the system works maybe better than anybody. I understand the political system, and I understand also very much a system of coming in for illegal immigrants. Don't forget, if I didn't bring up the subject of illegal immigration, you wouldn't be asking the question. Nobody would even be talking about immigration. And immigration, and in particular illegal immigration, has become a very big factor. Now, a lot of bad things have happened with respect to crime since I brought it up. But if I didn't bring it up, immigration would not even be a subject that we're talking about. And it happens to be a very important subject. I have to say this, it can also be a very positive subject, because I believe so strongly in immigration, and we have to stop illegal immigration, and we have to look forward to great immigration done in a legal manner. But if I didn't bring it up, nobody would be talking about it. No, go ahead. Well, there is gridlock in Congress right now, and that's because there's no leadership at the top. You have to be able to lead. You have to get people into your office. You have to get people, go to them, any way you want to do it. But you have to be able to lead. There is no leadership at the top. Signing executive orders is not the way our country was supposed to be run. Yeah, go ahead. I don't want to talk about that here. It's inappropriate. Yes, sir, go ahead. Tom Brady? Well, Tom Brady is a very good friend of mine. He's a great guy. For those of you that don't know him, he's a very honorable guy and an honest guy and a truly great athlete. He is really a very good friend of mine, and I just spoke to him a little while ago. He's so thrilled and so happy. Tom Brady, I think what they've done is terrible, and he has been exonerated, as I understand it, because I just heard about it. But I'm very happy for Tom. As far as the commission is concerned, they're having a rough year, let's face it. They're having a very rough year. Yeah, go ahead. Well, in Europe, they have tremendous problems where people are going in and storming, and it's a huge humanitarian problem. And I just say this, the United States has tremendous problems of their own. We have infrastructure that we have to fix. We have bridges and roads and tunnels, and everything's falling apart. Our nation's in such trouble. That's why being a builder, and a great builder, and a very successful builder, I think will greatly help. But we have so many of our own problems, including the border, including the wall, which we will get built. The premiums have gone up 45, 50, 55%. People are saying this is turning out to be a disaster. Deductibles are through the roof. The deductibles on Obamacare, it's through the roof. So we have a lot of problems. We have to take care of our vets. We have to build up our military. Just the other day, General Ordiano said that the Army is in the worst shape in its history in terms of preparedness. Now, for them to be in bad shape with the way we are and with the world hating us, and you look at Hillary Clinton, and I've said she's the worst Secretary of State in the history of this country. Now, in all fairness, because of the agreement that's about to be finalized with Iran, John Kerry may very well take her place. I think that agreement is a disaster for this country, for Israel, for the Middle East. It's going to lead to nuclear proliferation, the 24-day clause, everything about, we don't even get our prisoners back. You say, who negotiates a thing like that? That won't happen, I can guarantee you, with the President Trump. All right, one or two more questions. Yeah. You'll see it later, yeah. They don't want to hear it. Yeah, go ahead. Could you say it up, please? All I want them to do, yeah, and say hello to Rosanna and Greg, okay? Great people. I would say, very simply, I just want to be treated like everybody else. You see, I was always the fair-haired boy. I was a big contributor. Nobody knows the system, but I was on the other side. And I was the elite. I was the fair-haired person. once I ran, all of a sudden I was a little bit of an outsider. I became an outsider because I was running, because I wasn't supposed to run. I'm this businessman that people have given me great credit as being a great businessman, but I'm not supposed to be running for office. The fact is that our country is being killed on trade by China, by Japan, by Mexico, both at the border and on trade. And I'm not knocking those countries. Their leaders are much, much smarter than our leaders. They are absolutely killing us. China, taking our jobs, taking our money, taking our base. And think of this, we owe China $1.4 trillion. And we're paying them interest. We owe Japan, with all of the cars coming in, the same amount, $1.4 trillion. That's like a magic act. They send the cars in, they take our jobs, they do everything, and we owe them money. That's not going to happen with me. It's been a long time. Go. Well, Jeb Bush is a very nice man. I'll be honest. I think he's a very nice person. I think he's a very low-energy person, and I don't think that's what the country needs. I hear that he's going to spend a lot of money on negative ads on me, and honestly, look, he's getting the money from special interests. He's getting the money from lobbyists and his donors. And they're making him do it because he's crashing in the polls. So I don't know what's going to happen. If he spends $20 million or $25 million...
Here's some of my favorite comments in the chat room. Hollywood always, this is Little Cottage Shop, Hollywood always wants to squeeze their way into the party. That's certainly true.
Although it would not be the way I've done. You know, one of the things that I'm most honored about is that so far everybody
Ale asks if I would take Kanye seriously as a candidate. That's a big fat no. That would actually really annoy me. Kim Kardashian as our first lady makes me sick, so no.
Now he's getting out of the race. He was at 0. Everybody, Rand Paul attacked me. I see the last poll, the Monmouth poll just came out today, where I'm leading by double figures, and Rand Paul is down to less than 2%, and he attacked me. Now, Jeb Bush also just went down in the Monmouth poll, very big. So, I don't know. I mean, he's going to spend lobbyists' money and special interest money. Remember this, they have total control over Jeb and Hillary and everybody else that takes that money. Nobody knows the system better than me. They have total control. You understand it very well because you've been covering it for a long time. Those people that are putting up those millions of dollars have total control over your candidate. I will tell you this, nobody's putting up millions of dollars for me. I'm putting up my own money. In fact, I feel a little bit foolish. People are offering me millions and millions of dollars. You know, when you're in first place, you can collect so much money. And I keep turning them down. I feel like, am I a fool? I feel very foolish. And when I was in Iowa last week, I said, what do you think? Can I take, one man offered me, a big lobbyist, offered $5 million for my campaign. I said to the crowd in Iowa, great crowd, 4,000 people, I said, can I take it? And will you believe I'm not going to do anything? I promise you, I swear to you, I won't do anything.
I don't know what exactly
and they all stood up and said, no, no, don't take it. The fact is, I'm the only self-funder. I'm putting up my own.
Maybe that's not us. It's in a beautiful neighborhood, though. Once I know what's going on, well, I'll let you know what's going on there, but that looks
nothing to do with them. As you know, you're not allowed to have anything to do with them. So I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully, if they're going to do something, it's going to be nice, but I don't know anything about them. But just in a nutshell, I'm funding my own campaign, nobody else's. When people advertise, and I hope the voters can see this, every negative ad they see about me is paid for by lobbyists and special interests. So just remember that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm still seeing this home on one of my satellites.
Our country can be doing much better. We have deficits that are enormous. We have all bad trade agreements. We have an army that the head said is not prepared. We have a military that needs help, and especially in these times. We have nuclear weapons that you look at 60 Minutes, they don't even work. Okay? If anybody saw that report, the phones don't work. They're 40 years old. They have wires that are no good. Nothing works. Our country doesn't work. Everybody wins except us. We need victories in this country. We don't have victories anymore. Our country will be great again, but right now our country has major problems. Yes, ma'am. Who is who? Yes, Carly. I think it's great that she's in the debate. I was in favor of her being. I think she should be in the debate. I don't like that fact that there are 11 people now. As I understand it, they're not getting rid of Rand Paul or somebody, but and they should, because there's too many people. Because when you have 11, you're not going to hear me and you're not going to hear other people talking, and I think that's too bad. I think 11 is a lot of people, but I was very happy that she got into the debate because, frankly, she deserved to be in the debate. Okay? I think maybe he's inclined not to get in the race. I think it's going to depend on what happens.
Again, I really can tell you very little. There's the Frisco fire trucks, but you can see that there is half of a fence missing. I don't know what this is about. I'm getting in these visuals. They're interesting. I'm just going to share them with you, but I'm very limited as to what I have on this. I actually have nothing on this other than we are looking at the same image. You could see that fence is torn down. Also, it looked like brick was torn down. If this helicopter would take us a little bit more to the left, it looked like there was some brick missing, perhaps, or some brick on the ground. Do you see that? So did a car go into a home? That's what it appears to be, that this car went into a home. But I have no information on this. All I can tell you is that we're looking at this together for the first time. This Frisco fire truck, you see at the scene, you see there's a missing fence across the street, and it looks like in this unbelievably gorgeous house, a car has gone into the front of this house. So I don't know I don't know what the circumstances are, but we are getting this live video on one of our satellites, and I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. You can see what I'm seeing on the screen. A bad day for a few individuals, that's for sure. You can see the neighborhood out taking a gander, getting their cell phones out. Still looking at this neighborhood where a car has gone into the front of a home. Look at all of the neighbors that have surrounded the house. Here comes a tow truck to probably remove that truck from the front of the house. This might be an interesting process to watch. But you can see there was some, I don't know if it was a chase or what, something dramatic happened because across the street from this home it's missing a fence. So again, Frisco Fire, we can see Frisco Fire at the scene. The tow truck just pulled up to get that SUV out of the front of that home. And you can tell that the fence had been completely demolished, but we are losing our chopper now. There we are. Hi. And we lost Chopper, so that was interesting. I just like, even if I don't know much about the situation, it is interesting to cut in, see some of those visuals. I mean, sometimes we've even got cars in pools. I've been interrupted. Bernie Sanders, when it was interrupted last week for a car in a pool. Let's go to Texas, where the title of this story is Backing the Blue, Pro-Police Campaign. We need more pro-police campaigns.
I'm just appalled, amazed that everybody would show up and still support us.
Even those who work in traffic control admit they don't see this every day, at least not lately.
Why do you say still support us?
I think that we've gotten a bad rap a little bit, but the people that know what we do for a living and they know how we do our business knows that it's not everybody that does it, and it's nice to see all these people coming by and reaffirming that.
Long lines stretched across the Mansfield Police parking lot, stacking cars all the way down East Broad Street for a little piece of blue ribbon. And a chance to shake an officer's hand.
All the things that's been going on nowadays about the police and stuff, you know, it's pretty sad.
Law enforcement is under attack right now, and we need people to stand up and support them.
Sherry Aaron is the police chief's wife. She says times have been tough for police, but the murder of Deputy Darren Goforth pushed her to action today.
I think the untold story is they're human too, and we need to back them and show them how much we appreciate what they do.
She paid for the materials and invited other wives and volunteers to make lapel pins and cut pieces of blue ribbon to tie on trees and cars.
They're here to take care of us, so we're here to take care of them.
Some are up in the air with it, you know, so it's kind of like, I'm moved.
And it didn't take long for word of the effort to touch hearts that have been worried.
The world is just going in a direction that is not good, and it's time for a lot of changes, and just hopefully, you know, something like that happening can wake people up, and everyone can try to get along.
It is clear police, like most people, want to be heard and understood instead of prejudged, and that everyone has more in common than not.
I think what we need to do as a nation is we need to communicate better. We need to do that on a daily basis. We need to do it nationally, and we need to be able to do that locally as well.
And here's another one out of Texas. This is a car fire rescue.
Alone, I would have never gotten out. Recovering from injuries, she remembers the dramatic moments.
Hey, they trapped in the car?
Her car on fire after she fell asleep while driving and hit a freeway sign support. I told the young man to help me because I'm burning. He said the ambulance is coming, and I said, you help me. And he grabbed me and pulled me out. Chad Jeffrey, a DART maintenance worker, snapped pictures of Ortega's car after she was safe. He was first to run up, extinguish some flames, and pry her door open.
We really weren't aware of the fire in the firewall yet, and we were just basically trying to get her out, and she started screaming. We didn't understand what she was saying. She didn't speak English. Fortunately, there was another Hispanic guy there, and he said that her feet are burning.
Garland police officer Michael Mallison was driving to court that morning. His dash camera recorded the intensity, including the flames that burst from the vehicle less than 2 minutes after Ortega was out of it.
I'm just fortunate, you know, just to see the citizens. How many were just so willing to help. So many people run up there to help. I believe God put us there in the right time at the right place.
After we got her out of the car, there was people that were actually driving by and holding up bottles of water, and just it was great to see, all those people, try to help and come to her aid.
Ortega, with burns, a broken leg and arm, could not agree more.
They were putting their lives on the line to try to help me, and for that I'm thankful.
That's an incredible story, incredible video that they got from that dash cam, and it goes to show you that when you drive, when you're tired, it can be as bad as when you drive when you're intoxicated. I'm so glad that she's all right. Let's stick with our Texas theme, neighborhood yard sign fight. This should be very interesting.
The infamous signs on the Price family's lawn calling their neighbor a D-bag aren't going anywhere soon. But the fight over their barking dogs, Freddie and Queen, is now going to trial.
It's not fair, and I think that I need to try to prove that dead dogs don't bark all the time like he says that they do.
The war of words started after communication between the Prices and their neighbor broke down. In a nutshell, the Prices say about 6 months ago, their neighbor asked them to quiet their dogs. Lisa Price says they did and thought things were settled until early last month when she says she got a citation from the city about barking dogs. That's when the signs referencing feminine products went out. The neighbors' cameras went up and tempers boiled over. But do the vulgar signs cross the line?
If something is, let's say, openly inflammatory, very incendiary, you get into the public nuisance side of things, and then the police department gets involved. Building officials looked at the situation, determined it's not something that the city has any jurisdiction to get involved in.
Since our first report, Lisa Price says she's gotten both positive and negative feedback, including hate mail, from as far away as Las Vegas.
You're a white trash scumbag. I'm sure your dogs bark all day and night. Have some respect. Keep your dogs inside when you watch Jerry Springer.
She says letters like these don't affect her decision.
I think it's funny. I think whoever sent this probably needs to get a life. Don't judge me until you walked a mile in my moccasins.
That's one of those stories that we probably need to watch over again with Dave Muncy or Troy Hayden, because it's a talker. It's what we refer to as a talker. I don't know if I would do, first of all, my animals are my soul. My animals are my entire heart. So I would not do anything to any neighbors that might, to the point that I have like paws on my nails. I love my dog so much. I would not do anything to tick my neighbors off so much where they might try to hurt my dogs, because I've read horrible stories about neighbors that poison their dogs. There's a dateline on that where a neighbor killed his neighbor's animal because he just couldn't deal with some animosity between his neighbor due to land. Like, they couldn't figure out or come to terms with who owned what piece of property. So I am not an instigator. I try to lay low. My dogs are my soul. That's basically, but that is funny. That's funny. It's interesting, and hopefully it all works out. But I would definitely be trying to get away from that people, or those types of people. I would try to stay away from all of those types of people for sure. Let's see. So Happily is asking what the sign says. Let me give you 2 seconds. I'm going to show you this so Happily you can take a look at it, huh? His last one was 19 minutes ago. Is he still doing it? Oh, here he is.
You got it?
Yeah. So here is Steve Kraft's Periscope. He is in a dust storm in Maricopa. Now you can hear him talking.
Kinsey may be pulling this up on the air momentarily. It's 1:30. That means Fox News Now is coming back on. Kinsey may be pulling this up on the air momentarily. It's 1:30. That means Fox News Now is coming back on. So, persistent rain for, I'd say like for the last 15, 20 minutes, wouldn't you, Greg?
Well, since we've been coming down this way.
Yeah, this is crazy. Crazy, I tell you. So, anyway, that's the situation here. We're seeing, to me, a surprising amount of rain. I thought this weather stuff was over, didn't you? Because I'm looking up towards the valley and it's...
Oh, that's not towards the valley.
Oh,
It's,
oh yeah. That's
going
towards...
southeast.
Yeah, that's
That's
kind
east.
of... Yeah.
Valley behind it.
Yeah, it's kind of northwest. Northwest. What is that thing over there? Kind of a factory or something.
Looks like our signals are not very strong.
I think that might be a...
But if you are on Periscope or like Periscope, you can follow Steve Kraft on Periscope.
Yeah, is that what the... yeah, there's something going on. Some kind of agribusiness.
I imagine he's going to be covering
Something
weather
Doritos
this
plant.
evening
Let's
for our 5 o'clock broadcast.
Let's stop by, get some snacks.
Stop by, guys.
But it's 1:30, so I'm going to go ahead and
We
close
need a
up
couple
shop
bags
for
of, ranch.
our morning program, gearing up for the 2:30 afternoon programs. That's
Cool
going to be
ranch
2:30 to
Doritos.
5.
City of Casa Grande.
Welcome to the city.
And then we have Bernie Sanders. We have Steve Kraft, I'm sure we'll want to do more weather. We've got Marco Rubio. So we've got a lot of exciting content for you coming up during our afternoon show. Thank you so much for watching our morning show. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, download our app. It's free, and it's also much easier to stream our content via the app on your phone or your iPad. So go head over to fox10phoenix.com to get all of that good stuff. Oh, and I'm seeing a lot of interesting weather shots. It looks like it's going to be a weather night tonight, so I'm just going to go ahead and mentally prepare. I should go get my umbrella now. All right, see you at 2:30.